Chapter 793. A Corpse Race Cultivator. Chui Hao's expression changed slightly. A scimitar appeared in his hand, and he sent out a crescent moon-shaped saber chi to scatter that black chi. However, the black chi did not disappear immediately. It wrapped around the scimitar and spread downwards, looking like the arm of a demon. It looked extremely strange. A light flashed, and Chui Hao circulated some quintessence to get rid of the black chi from the scimitar. When Chui Hao looked up, he saw a young man with a dark complexion standing on a black cloud. This young man held a long whip in his hand, looking very lifeless. However, this young man's eyes were exceptionally sharp. When he stomped on Chui Hao felt an unparalleled sharpness. Where did this corpse race cultivator come from? He is so young, and he is already a peak half-sage. Chui Hao thought to himself in shock. Xiao Chen, who had rushed over, casually scooped up the flame crystal rock that had been knocked away. The scarlet flame vanished. A dark scarlet crystal the size of a marble appeared before Xiao Chen. He could not help but feel somewhat disappointed. Based on the color and size, he could guess that this flame crystal rock was of inferior quality. He glanced at Chui Hao and the mysterious corpse race cultivator, who were facing each other. Then, he shifted his gaze to the flame crystal rock, which continued to fly. Among the 10-odd flame crystal rocks, there would definitely be one with an above-average quality. However, Wang Can, who was seated on the throne, smiled sinisterly. Then, he soared into the air, and his figure flickered. Riding on a thick cloud, he arrived before the large group of flame crystal rocks. Wang Can swept out with the whip in his hand, and a berserk wind blew. The trajectory of the 10-odd flame crystal rocks was completely disrupted. Then, Wang Can swung his whip again, and 3 or 4 flame crystal rocks flew into his hand. Then, he smiled coldly at the pursuing Chui Hao and pointed to the air. 2 stone coffins appeared in the air, one in front and one behind, blocking Chui Hao. The doors of the coffins opened, and a horrifying corpse chi poured out. 2 sinister demonic corpses wearing heavy stone armor launched themselves at Chui Hao. The full moon disk in Xiao Chen's body hovered above his head, sending down a silk-like screen of light. Chui Hao held the waning moon curved blade and heavily chopped the chest of the demonic zombie in front of him. A muffled sound rang out. This saber strike actually didn't break the stone armor on the demonic corpse's chest. It only left a shallow mark and knocked it back 10 meters. The demonic zombie behind him took the chance to charge over. Its 5 black fingers were as sharp as knives, stabbing into the curtain of the full moon wheel. To Chui Hao's surprise, the moonlight curtain was unable to block the demonic corpse's attack. A black corpse chi lingered on its fingertips. The curtain seemed to be corroded and was easily pierced by the demonic zombie's fingers. The demonic zombie laughed cruelly and grabbed Chui Hao's back with its 5 fingers. At this moment, Chui Hao had just repelled the demonic corpse in front of him. There was no time for him to dodge. The corpse energy on the fingertips might contain the will of death, and it would be a fatal blow to him. Just as the demonic corpse was filled with terror, a loud sound came from behind it. A foot pressed down on the demonic corpse's head, and a huge force surged out, sending the demonic corpse flying several thousand meters. Bang! An interstellar meteorite whizzed over and collided with the devil corpse. The meteorite shattered into pieces, but the devil corpse wasn't damaged in the slightest. This corpse is extraordinarily strong, Xiao Chen thought to himself. This demonic corpse is much stronger than the demonic corpses refined by the Dark Church in the Sky Dome realm. Many thanks. After escaping with his life, Chui Hao thanked Xiao Chen sincerely. He had been too careless. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and pointed to the front. Chui Hao suddenly understood. There was still one more demonic corpse that he had not dealt with. Now was not the time to thank him. Xiao Chen looked around. With this delay, the genius corpse race cultivator called Wang Can had already snatched away the 10-odd flame crystal rocks. That's not right. He did not snatch them away. A grave expression flashed on Xiao Chen's calm face. Just as the other party's whip was about to snatch away the last flame crystal rock, the flame crystal rock actually managed to struggle free. A resplendent electric light burst out from under Xiao Chen's feet. He executed Thunder Dragon steps at full power. Then, he raised his leg and leaped, instantly crossing the 5-kilometer distance. Xiao Chen stretched out his hand and grabbed the last flame crystal rock. The scarlet flame vanished, and a deep-colored, crimson crystal appeared in his hand. Xiao Chen's face lit up in joy. He said, "It really is a superior-grade flame crystal rock. It looks like I guessed right." The few Haoyan sect disciples who had rushed over in advance but did not dare to act rashly because of Wang Can felt envious when they saw this scene. "You are seeking death." However, Wang Can was enraged. One superior-grade flame crystal rock was worth more than all the flame crystal rocks he had collected. Wang Can's whip extended infinitely, looking like a raging venomous black snake as it hacked at Xiao Chen. Holding the flame crystal rock in his left hand, Xiao Chen raised his head slightly and looked at the incoming black whip. Then, he stretched out his hand and firmly grasped the whip. When Wang Can, who was on the death throne, saw Xiao Chen grab his whip without letting go, he could not help but mock him. To think that Xiao Chen dares to compete in strength with a corpse race cultivator. He is overestimating himself. Wang Can's steel-like hands pulled back, trying to pull Xiao Chen over. However, Wang Can felt like he was pulling a mountain on the other end of the whip. It did not budge at all. His expression turned slightly unsightly as he asked, "You can't pull it?" Xiao Chen smiled coldly and gently pulled with his right hand. Whoosh! Wang Can, who was on the death throne, flew into the air. In terms of vital qi, Xiao Chen completely surpassed his opponent. The direct disciples from the previous batches who saw this scene from behind undoubtedly inhaled a breath of cold air. Among the 5 clans of the Kunlun realm, the Corpse clan was famous for their strong physical bodies. Even the demon race, who had always boasted of their powerful bodies, was slightly inferior in front of the Corpse race. The Corpse race and the Ghost race both cultivated the great Tao of death among the 5 races of Kunlun, but the direction of their development was completely different. The Corpse race studied the refining methods of all kinds of demonic corpses and demon corpses. They refined the corpses of all kinds of powerful existences. Whether it was the corpses of humans, demons, or spirit beasts, they would not let go of anything. In fact, they would even use the corpse refinement technique on themselves to pursue a realm where they were neither alive nor dead, using their corpses to prove their Tao and become the corpse god. Among the 5 races, they were the least welcomed by the other races. It would be the same no matter who it was. How could a race that was always eyeing one's ancestral graves make one feel at ease? However, even though the corpse race did not have as many people as the other races, they had been able to survive for tens of thousands of years, and their inheritance had never been destroyed. Of the ancient 100 races, several strong races had vanished like smoke in the long river of history. The corpse race being able to do this had a lot to do with their monstrous body tempering cultivation technique. However, a peak half-sage of the corpse race with an extremely horrifying physical body ended up being pulled out by Xiao Chen. How could anyone not be shocked? Wang Can showed a startled expression. He had not expected the other party to pull him up while he was distracted. However, Wang Can reacted quickly and decisively let go. Then, he charged at Xiao Chen with a cold gaze. He was very confident in his physical body. Among the cultivators of the same generation, no one could defeat him in close combat. He had just been careless earlier. However, Wang Can was disappointed. It was not because he had been careless that he lost to Xiao Chen in a competition of physical bodies. Instead, it was because he was truly inferior to Xiao Chen. In terms of physical bodies, Xiao Chen had a rank 2 sage body and consumed many natural treasures. In terms of vital qi, he had more than 1 million tons of force. Bang! 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 The two exchanged 3 moves. Finally, their fists clashed. The moment their fists clashed, Wang Can was knocked back by Xiao Chen. However, Xiao Chen also felt his fingers go slightly numb. Wang Can's body seemed to have been separated from flesh and blood, like some kind of divine metal. Raising his eyebrows slightly, Xiao Chen thought to himself, the corpse race's body tempering technique cannot be underestimated. Although Xiao Chen thought this, he did not stop moving. He casually tossed aside the black whip in his hand and executed Thunder Dragon steps to charge at this person. Xiao Chen had long wanted to experience the experts of other races. If there was an opportunity, it would not be a bad idea to snatch away that death throne. After being knocked back by Xiao Chen's punch, Wang Ken was both startled and furious. He somersaulted and sat back down on the death throne. As Wang Ken watched Xiao Chen chase after him, the black mark on his forehead flickered. The black clouds under the throne started churning continuously. Sitting on the death throne, Wang Ken, who had been in a sorry state earlier, now looked like a sovereign of the night. A decaying aura of death spread out. Wang Ken unhurriedly threw a palm strike at the pursuing Xiao Chen. Strands of black smoke came out of the throne. Like tentacles, the black smoke wrapped around Wang Can's palm and extended to his palm, forming the word death. Xiao Chen chased too quickly. Even if Wang Can wanted to retreat, he could not. The instant the word death formed, Wang Can's palms charged forward with explosive vital qi. This palm strike contained more than 1 million kilograms of force. Xiao Chen would be able to crush a mountain. However, Wang Can remained seated on the death throne, not moving at all. However, the black clouds under the throne churned even more intensely. A will of death spread out from Wang Can's palm. Before Xiao Chen could execute the immortal will of thunder, he was knocked back. His qi and blood surged, and hot blood rushed to his head. A black death qi wrapped around Wang Can's palm. His life force quickly faded, and he started rotting at a visible rate. In mere moments, Xiao Chen's smooth and white palm aged rapidly. It was as thin as a stick and filled with cracks. It looked like the palm of an ordinary person in his 70s or 80s, looking very horrifying. That deathly aura was still spreading and rushing upwards. The group of people in the distance was horrified. The will of death was actually this horrifying. Xiao Chen looked at his palm and frowned slightly. However, he did not worry too much. Xiao Chen had an even bigger problem. The mental energy of the massacre throne was like a cocoon in his sea of consciousness. After the other party released the will of death, cracks started to appear in the cocoon, showing signs of breaking free at any moment. Xiao Chen flung his hand, and the immortal will of thunder turned into a thunder fire, slowly eliminating the death qi on his arm. Sizzling sounds rang out, and black smoke came out. Chapter 794. Xiao Chen's lifeless palm immediately regained its luster and recovered to its original state. His fingers were as nimble as before. Wang Can narrowed his eyes and said sullenly, "You comprehended the will of thunder. No wonder you dare to snatch my, Wang Can's, things. However, if this is your trump card, you still have to die." Xiao Chen did not want to expose the secret of the Scarlet Throne. However, the other party pressed on. He had no choice but to draw the lunar shadow saber and fight. Black clouds churned, and muffled thunderous sounds rang out continuously. Wang Can, who was seated on the throne, charged over with the might of the dead. The two quickly exchanged moves in the starry heavens. As the will of death pressed on, more and more mental energy cracks appeared in Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness. On the Haotian sect's king-grade warship, the two vice-palace masters looked into the distance. When they saw this battle, they could not help but frown heavily. That throne seems to have been left by the ancient evil king. Unexpectedly, a descendant of the corpse race managed to obtain it. The throne is split into 7. The corpse race cultivates the death Tao. It is a perfect match for them to obtain the death throne. Xiao Chen is probably in trouble. It is not convenient for the two of us to make a move. I believe the corpse dragon warship of the corpse race is not far away. Let's see how it goes. If Xiao Chen's life is in danger, we will have to make a move even if we don't want to. We can only hope that the other party does not send a king-grade warship. As the two spoke, they steered the warship towards where Xiao Chen and Wang Can fought. At the same time, they brought in the scattered Haotian sect disciples. Their gazes never left Xiao Chen and Wang Can. The moment they sensed that something was wrong, they prepared to make a move. When Wang Can saw the warship flying over and two strong superior-grade martial sages, his expression did not change. Every move he made was extremely lethal. Based on the situation, Xiao Chen feared exposing the throne, so he was very conservative. Before the surging Wang Can, he could only defend. Hand over the superior-grade flame crystal rock, and we will end today's matter. Wang Can felt that he already held the upper hand. The two superior-grade martial sages of the Haotian sect were already here. It was impossible to kill Xiao Chen, so he could only quit while he was ahead. Gotcha! However, just at this moment, something strange happened. The mental energy wrapped around the scarlet throne in Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness shattered. A berserk-killing aura surged out. Under Xiao Chen's feet, a red cloud rolled up and down. The blood-colored massacre throne lay quietly on top of it, waiting for its king. The moment the scarlet throne appeared, Wang Can's expression completely changed. He said somewhat excitedly, "The massacre throne. Ha ha ha. Looks like my luck is extraordinarily good. I actually managed to run into the massacre throne. That's right, your luck is really extraordinary." Now that the secret was exposed, the killing chi on Xiao Chen's face finally gathered. His cold voice was like a bone-piercing cold light, causing Wang Can to feel a chill for some reason. Boom! Xiao Chen sat down gently and leaned back on the throne. His soaring aura turned into a red light and rose up. Vaguely, there seemed to be a 30-meter-long golden dragon soaring within the red light. At this moment, the King True Dragon's aura was released together with the state of massacre without any suppression. The horrifying might instantly pushed back Wang Can's aura, suppressing him to the point that he could not breathe properly. Wang Can's clothes and hair fluttered wildly behind him. He looked like he was about to fly up. Xiao Chen smacked his palm on the armrest, and the will of death in the throne surged and gathered. A black light soared into the sky. The mark on Wang Can's forehead flickered continuously. The might of the will of death clashed wildly with the might of Xiao Chen's massacre true dragon. A strange scene appeared in the boundless starry heavens. Two beams of light, one black and one red, intertwined and formed a cosmic storm. The meteors flying in the surroundings all deviated from their original trajectories and spun around the two. After the secret of the throne was exposed, Xiao Chen no longer held back. He combined the state of massacre with the King True Dragon to form a vast might and clashed with Wang Can, not backing down at all. The purple talisman in Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness spun gently, ready to deal a fatal blow at any moment. Wang Can's swarthy face looked extremely unsightly. I can clearly feel that he has not signed a contract with the existence in the throne, unable to raise his state to the will of massacre. Why can't my will of death hold the upper hand? Why do I have to work so hard? Furthermore, I even seem to be at a disadvantage. As the auras clashed, the cosmic storm around the two became even more ferocious. Not only could the meteors flying in the surroundings deviate from their trajectories, but the suction it formed even pulled the distant meteors over. More and more meteors gathered. In the blink of an eye, tens of thousands of meteors had gathered. As they spun, they formed a 3-kilometer-tall cluster of meteors. Through the cracks between the meteors, one could see two thrones, one black and one red. They faced each other and spiraled up. The clothes of the two people on the thrones fluttered, and their long hair fluttered. When the two thrones were about to leave the cluster of meteors, the two squinted and stood up at the same time. Kill! Die! Horrifying energy mixed with a boundless aura burst out at the same time. The tens of thousands of meteors instantly turned into dust. The starry heavens churned endlessly, scattering everywhere. The previous true inheritors on the Haotian sect's king-grade warship were all stunned when they saw this magnificent scene. The cluster of meteors turned to dust. Amid the dust, Xiao Chen's peak state of massacre combined with the king-grade true dragon chi formed a golden kill character. Boundless black death chi poured out of the throne behind Wang Can. The horrifying will of death formed a sinister black death character in the air. The two pointed at each other, and the golden kill character and the black death character clashed violently in the starry heavens. A will was a will, after all. It was one level higher than a state. The peak state of massacre combined with the king grade true dragon chi might be stronger in terms of might and pressure, but there was a huge difference in the destructive power of the two. Pu Ci. The golden kill character scattered and turned into strands of wandering massacre chi moving around in the starry heavens. Wang Can revealed a sinister smile on his pitch-black face as he shouted, "Kill!" The slightly weakened death character turned into a slender black sword and chopped at Xiao Chen furiously. This was the form of his will, the sword of the dead. At this moment, Wang Can's eyes brimmed with confidence. Although his will of death had lost some of its might due to the clash with the peak state of massacre, it was still a piece of cake. However, it was still a piece of cake for the will of death to defeat the will of energy. Once Wang Can used this sword, he could easily break Xiao Chen's will of thunder. Then, he could snatch the massacre throne and advance to an unrivaled half-sage. However, there was always a subtle difference between one's thoughts and reality. Xiao Chen's will of thunder was not an ordinary will of thunder. It was the immortal will of thunder. It was a copy of divine lightning and an immortal talisman. If it were a complete will of death, it might have the advantage of a high-ranked will. It might be able to compete with Xiao Chen's immortal will of thunder. However, how could the will of death, which had exhausted a significant portion of its strength? A purple light flickered on Wang Can's forehead, and the talisman with the immortal talisman on it flickered. Electric light tore through the air, and the black sword instantly exploded into nothing. Wang Can vomited a mouthful of black blood. Before he could do anything, the purple talisman carrying the might of immortal thunder flashed and gave off a dazzling light in the starry heavens. By the time the electricity stopped, Wang Can had already been sent flying 5 kilometers away. Many large meteors had been turned to dust by him. A bloody hole the size of a bowl had appeared in his chest, and sparks were still flickering non-stop. When Xiao Chen raised his head to take a look, he felt slightly startled. I wonder what material this fellow's physical body is made of. Even the will talisman cannot pierce through it. Xiao Chen could clearly see that Wang Can was not wearing any inner armor or secret treasure. However, this had nothing to do with Xiao Chen. At this moment, Wang Can had already lost his ability to fight and was no longer a threat to him. Xiao Chen gently pushed off the starry heavens and arrived before the death throne. A fervent expression appeared in his eyes as he stretched his hand out to grab the throne. Just at this moment, Xiao Chen sensed extreme danger. In the distant starry heavens, 3 black dragon breaths pierced through the starry heavens, heading for Xiao Chen. As long as Xiao Chen made a move to grab the death throne, he would immediately be struck by these dragon breaths. He might be crushed into a bloody mist, dying without a complete corpse. On the Haotian sect's warship, the 2 vice palace masters exclaimed in shock, 3 black dragon breaths. It really is a king-grade corpse dragon warship. Xiao Chen, quickly retreat. That is a black dragon breath refined from a true dragon corpse. You cannot block it. The vice palace master on the left quickly sent a voice projection to Xiao Chen, instructing him to retreat. Xiao Chen's face sank. However, he did not intend to give up. He had long expected that there would be a major faction following Wang Can, otherwise, he would not have been so afraid of the throne being exposed at the start. Just Wang Can alone would not have made him feel this way. However, now that the throne was exposed, if he left like this, he would not be able to obtain any benefits. Furthermore, he would expose the fact that he had a valuable treasure on him. He would not be satisfied with that. Xiao Chen glanced around, and 2 beams of light, 1 purple and 1 white, flashed in his eyes. The lunar true flame and the purple thunder true fire chased each other in the air. In the blink of an eye, they formed a Taiji yin-yang flame diagram with the 8 trigrams, the 4 divisions, and all sorts of profound talisman scripts. The 4 divisions' holy beasts flashed in the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram, forming a complete scene. What is he doing? The vice palace master on the left revealed heavy doubt in his eyes, unable to understand. It's over. The black dragon breath can easily kill an inferior-grade martial sage. We do not dare to clash head-on with it, the vice palace master on the right sighed in despair. A golden light flickered, and the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram gave off a bright light. To everyone's astonished gazes, it unexpectedly blocked the 3 dragon breaths. However, it only blocked them for a second. However, this 1 second was enough to do a lot of things. Xiao Chen stretched out his hand and tossed the death throne into his universe ring. Then, electric light erupted under Xiao Chen's feet as he quickly headed for the King-grade warship. The black shock wave surged out in all directions like a wave of death. Meteors silently turned into powder. The shock wave arrived too quickly. Xiao Chen could not dodge it completely. He activated the Sage-grade pagoda in his chest and formed a pagoda image encasing his body. Chapter 795. The image shattered, and Xiao Chen tumbled a few times. Then, he vomited a large mouthful of blood. Not daring to look back, Xiao Chen pushed off the air and continued flying towards the King-grade warship. "You run pretty fast." A deep voice came from behind Xiao Chen. There was a blurry black figure in the distance with black chains tied around its wrists. A horrifying aura came from the black figure, suppressing everyone. This was a ruthless character that Xiao Chen could not deal with. Hu Qi. Suddenly, a fiery light flew in front of Xiao Chen. The figure landed and arrived behind Xiao Chen, helping him block his pursuers. It was the Heavenly Battle Palace's palace master, Elder Bai. He held a 1-meter-long scarlet sword surrounded by flames. Then, he chopped at the strange black figure. Bang! This sword strike sent the black figure that made Xiao Chen feel suffocated. The fiery light spread out, looking very resplendent in the starry heavens. When Xiao Chen landed on the deck of the King-grade warship, he clearly saw that the black figure was a demonic corpse that was completely black and as tough as frost iron, without any signs of life. Behind the demonic corpses was an old man from the corpse race holding a long whip. He was facing Elder Bai. When that corpse race old man saw Elder Bai appear, he frowned heavily. A Grandmaster-level martial sage who comprehended a will arrived. This is going to be problematic. The old man swung the whip in his hand. It seemed to have some magical power, and the demonic corpse with chains around its limbs quickly flew over from a distance and stood guard in front of this person. When one looked carefully, one would discover a 1-meter-long wound on the demonic corpse's chest. No matter what one did, it would not heal. Disgusting liquid continuously poured out of that wound. This was the result of Elder Bai's earlier sword strike. Scram, you thing that is neither human nor ghost. Elder Bai loathed the corpse race. When he saw that demonic corpse, his expression turned terrifyingly sullen as he spoke rudely. When the corpse race old man heard this, he became enraged. However, he could feel the formless light of the will of fire and the thousands of thick heavenly sage laws behind him. He swallowed his words, not daring to say anything more. Elder Bai was a Grandmaster-level martial sage who had comprehended the will of fire to 60% comprehension. As long as the opponent was not a blue-robed emperor, he would not have any misgivings. The corpse race cultivator seemed to have received a voice projection. He said coldly, "Give your clan's junior a reminder. In the future, if there is nothing to do, it is best not to leave the Tianwu domain." After saying that, his figure flashed, and he put away the demonic corpse, preparing to return. Shameless boasting! With a furious roar, Elder Bai pushed the power of his will of fire to the limit. Xiao Chen's heavenly sage laws danced wildly behind him as he sent out a 300-meter-tall flaming sword screen. Then, he charged over like a surging river. The old man from the corpse clan jumped in fright. This guy had used his full strength when he attacked. Clearly, he wanted to kill him. "Save me!" Rumble. In the starry sky, a cloud of dust dispersed. 3 gigantic corpse dragons were chained together, pulling a black palace. A black-robed old man flew out of the palace. The black-robed old man flew forward and sent out a clump of corpse flame containing the will of death. Then, he silently assimilated Elder Bai's flaming sword screen. In an exchange of pointers between the younger generation, our skills are inferior. Our corpse god palace has already admitted defeat. There is no need for you to be so overbearing. Elder Bai narrowed his eyes. He saw a small golden corpse sitting cross-legged on the chest of this person's black robes. A light flickered in Elder Bai's eyes. In the end, he snorted coldly and turned to leave. Both sides feared each other and did not dare to make a big move. The chaos caused by the flame crystal stones came to an end, and they left together. Palace Master, why did they not even want the Death Throne and just let us go? The two Vice Palace Masters asked, feeling it was strange. The Death Throne was a treasure left behind by the ancient evil king. It was compatible with their Death Great Tao. Elder Bai said sullenly, I believe that the Death Throne has some other uses. Xiao Chen, you had best not place your mark on the Death Throne. Xiao Chen nodded to indicate his understanding. Back then, the Massacre Throne nearly caused him to fall into the Killing Tao, unable to extricate himself. Even without Elder Bai's reminder, Xiao Chen would still be cautious about the Death Throne. What is that? Suddenly, a disciple on the deck pointed to the front and exclaimed. Xiao Chen followed that disciple's gaze and saw a completely white palanquin draped in white muslin drifting in the starry heavens in a ghostly manner. It looked very frightening. When one looked carefully, one would discover that the palanquin was not flying on its own. Instead, 8 green spirits were carrying the palanquin, rushing quickly through the starry heavens. 8 ghosts carrying the palanquin. They are martial sage experts of the ghost race. They are chasing in the direction of the corpse dragon warships. Elder Bai had a bad impression of the corpse race and the ghost race. He said in disgust, there is no need to care about them. Just let them fight each other. The corpse race and the ghost race both cultivated the Death Great Tao. One collected the corpses of the dead, and the other collected the souls of the dead. They developed in completely different directions. Furthermore, they did not like each other. Battles often broke out between the corpse race and the ghost race. There were countless cases of them undermining each other. Hence, the appearance of this ghost palanquin was not too surprising to Elder Bai and the other two. However, Xiao Chen was very interested in that ghost palanquin. His spiritual sense chased after it for a long time. If Xiao Chen guessed right, the master of the corpse dragon warship might have given up on the Death Throne temporarily because of the ghost palanquin in hot pursuit. Suddenly, the curtains of the ghost palanquin parted. Xiao Chen clearly saw the appearance of a delicate person. He could not help but be startled and take a step back involuntarily. There was clearly a female ghost sitting in the ghost palanquin with a long tongue sticking out. Her eyes were like black holes, and blood flowed out of her 7 orifices. When Xiao Chen looked carefully, he discovered that what he saw earlier was just an illusion. The female ghost had vanished. A girl with fair skin and a cold expression in a red dress smiled meaningfully at Xiao Chen before closing the curtains again. This mysterious ghost race girl was startling. Her skin was as white as snow. Her face was cold and emotionless, and her long hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall. However, she was shockingly beautiful. This mysterious woman from the ghost clan was the epitome of the word shocking. Did she notice the Death Throne in her hand? Xiao Chen took a few steps back. He still could not calm down. The huge contrast startled him. Xiao Chen, are you all right? The one who spoke was Cui Hao. In the earlier battle, Xiao Chen had saved his life. Cui Hao was not a petty person in the first place. After receiving this favor, his resentment for Xiao Chen lessened significantly. Xiao Chen recovered his wits and smiled. I'm fine. My foot slipped. Elder Bai, who was in front, turned his head back and gave Xiao Chen a deep look. Then, he said, come with me. The other party's gaze made Xiao Chen feel uncertain. He muttered to himself as he followed the other party. They entered the warship's hold and continued walking until they reached the highest floor of the warship. The top floor had windows on all sides. No matter where one looked, one would be able to see the boundless charm of the boundless astral world. Have a seat. This old man apologizes on behalf of the two vice palace masters for exposing the secret of the massacre throne, Elder Bai said sincerely as he extended his hand and made an inviting gesture. Earlier, Shao Chen had refused to leave the warship. Elder Bai had noticed this. After some analysis, he figured out the true reason. Based on what happened later, he could easily figure out the real reason after a slight analysis. Shao Chen sat down and said, "Palace Master is too polite. The matters of the world are hard to predict. This junior did not suffer any losses. The injuries I suffered are still bearable. Furthermore, I obtained the Death Throne. Although there was a slim chance of survival, it was still a fortuitous encounter." Elder Bai sighed gently and smiled bitterly. "You are oversimplifying things. This is not a fortuitous encounter but a calamity, a great calamity. The evil king was a famous sovereign martial emperor during the ancient era. Even grandmaster-level martial sages would be tempted by the throne he left behind. If I did not see wrong earlier, the ghost race girl in the white palanquin noticed you as well. The two sides definitely have important matters to attend to. Once they deal with these trivial matters, they will definitely send their experts to find you and retrieve the Death Throne as well as the Massacre Throne." When the Scarlet Throne was forced to be exposed, Shao Chen had already expected such a thing. Elder Bai's analysis was within his expectations, so he waited quietly for the rest. "When we return to the Haotian Star this time, I will help you find a will clone of the sect master to protect your life at a crucial moment." Indeed, the Haotian sect would not ignore such a situation. Shao Chen raised his hand and said, "Many thanks, Elder Bai." Elder Bai smiled gently and said, "Perhaps I am exaggerating. Even if the ghost race and the corpse race know that you have two thrones, they will not spread the news. The two races both wanted to obtain the thrones. If they spread the news and other experts found out, it would undoubtedly make it more difficult for him to obtain the thrones." Shao Chen thought about the girl in the 8-ghost palanquin. He asked, "Palace Master, what is the background of the girl in the 8-ghost palanquin?" Even the two vice palace masters were shocked to see her. Elder Bai thought for a while before replying, "That white palanquin looks ordinary. In reality, it is a famous secret treasure of the ghost race. Its owner is the Ghost Empress Shisun, an expert on the same level as Emperor Wu. However, based on the person in the palanquin, he should be her descendant or disciple. However, for her to bestow this secret treasure to her, her talent is definitely not low." As the two chatted, Elder Bai used this topic to explain some things about the ghost race and the corpse race to Shao Chen. In terms of individual strength, the ghost race and the corpse race were far ahead of the 5 major races of the Kunlun realm. However, the two races cultivated the Death Great Tao. One hooked souls, and the other dug graves. What they did went against the heavenly Tao. Hence, the population of the two races could not develop. The distribution of power in the ghost domain and the corpse domain was not as complicated as that of the human race and the fiend race. They only had one sect, the Corpse God Palace and the Spirit Palace. Although there were conflicts between factions, they were much better than the human race and the fiend race, far less complicated than the human race and the fiend race. The two races normally kept a low profile. Of the two races, the ghost race was the most mysterious. The ghost race cultivators were born with yin-yang eyes, which allowed them to see all sorts of wandering souls invisible to the naked eye. Chapter 796. Rumor had it that the headquarters of the Netherworld Palace was located in the Nine Hells Purgatory, and that there was a grand formation there that could draw in the souls of dead people. Of course, rumors were just rumors. The Nine Hells of Purgatory was a forbidden land of the Kunlun realm. It was buried more than 90,000 kilometers underground. Aside from the Nether River that flowed to the land of Absolute Yin, there were all sorts of terrifying scenes. Even Emperor Wu didn't dare to barge in recklessly. There were many unsolved mysteries that he still couldn't find the answers to. As they spoke, a resplendent and charming star appeared in Shao Chen's vision. With just a glance, he was deeply captivated. Compared to the surrounding dark and lifeless dead stars, this star's charm was simply too great, even though it was too far away to be seen clearly. However, it made one instinctively feel a throbbing from the bottom of one's heart. It had an indescribable attraction. Is this the human emperor planet? Bushan Palace's stronghold in the starry sky. I wonder which ancient senior had the power to transform such a huge star. Xiao Chen had noticed this star in the jade pendant on his chest. Now that he saw it with his own eyes, he immediately recognized it. It was refined by the Dragon's Gate's Qing Emperor 50,000 years ago. He modified a dead star single-handedly, turning it into the vibrant state it is now. When Elder Bai mentioned the Dragon Sect Qing Emperor, his eyes naturally revealed a trace of reverence. Many sects could build a stronghold in the starry sky, but that was only to open up a base in a certain part of a star. It was impossible to transform an entire star. Compared to the human emperor star, there was a world of difference. Of course, the human sovereign planet was much smaller than the Kunlun continent. However, it had been completely transformed into an ancient planet with life. Every place on the planet was suitable for human habitation. Even ordinary mortals could survive here. Xiao Chen's eyes were filled with shock. He had originally thought that it was refined and transformed by the ancient human race. He didn't expect that it was transformed by the Qing Emperor from 10,000 years ago. You must be very shocked, right? During the ancient era, the Kunlun continent was rich in resources. There are all sorts of ancient ruins, immortal cities, and cave abodes. Coupled with the fact that the various races are often at war with each other, very few ancient almighties would think of establishing a stronghold in space. Elder Bai continued, the true exploration of the starry heavens started after the War of Emperors in the savage battlefield. This matter is closely related to the deep abyss demonic world. What's the connection? Xiao Chen's interest was piqued and he asked curiously. After the War of Emperors, the Kunlun realm declined. The situation of the peak of the martial epoch never appeared again. The demon world's ambition to regain control of Kunlun is also growing day by day. They opened up a distant heavenly road in the boundless starry sky. After working hard for 10,000 years, they finally killed their way over from the other side of the starry sky. In the past, the invasion of the demon realm could only come through the spatial rift between the two realms. However, spatial cracks only existed for a short period of time, and there were spatial storms around, so opening them was not easy. Not many people would come. Although the demonic tribulation would be terrifying, it would not be a disaster. As long as Emperor Wu held down the fort, they would be able to ensure the safety of the region. This was nothing in the eyes of the powerhouses. However, at that time, the ones who descended from the starry sky and broke through the barrier of the sky was the demonic world's army. The 18 demon monarchs personally arrived, deeply shocking the various races of the Kunlun realm. Although the Kunlun realm managed to obtain victory after much difficulty, several ancient races died in the war. After this war, the various races of the Kunlun realm thoroughly realized the importance of the starry sky. Aside from obtaining resources, defending against the demon world's invasion was also of utmost importance. In the distant depths of the starry sky, there was a vast astral battlefield. On the other side of the astral battlefield, the demon world's base in the starry sky could not be truly eliminated. Sometimes, the demonic world held the advantage, leaping across the astral battlefield and forcing back the various races of the Kunlun realm. During the most dangerous times, they even pushed back to the barrier of the sky. Sometimes, the Kunlun realm held the advantage, leaping across the astral battlefield and nearly killing all the demons on the other side. The current situation was a stalemate. That kind of endless war in the starry sky had not happened for 10,000 years already. The astral battlefield became the peak experiential training ground for the junior generation experts of the Kunlun realm and the demonic world. Without advancing to martial sage, one would not even be qualified to enter. The astral battlefield was the strongest experiential training ground in this universe. Without advancing to martial sage, one would not even be qualified to enter. When Xiao Chen heard this, he could not help but feel his blood surge. However, he could only think about it for now. To him, it was still too far away. In the vacuum of the universe, there was no air. If one wanted to travel through the starry sky, they would need to circulate their veritable essence energy at every moment, which was very taxing. A regular inferior-grade martial sage would not be able to remain in the starry sky for long. At most, they would be able to last a month before they had to find a place to recover. Otherwise, they would end up as desiccated corpses, forever lost in the universe. There was no distinction between night and day in the darkness. Xiao Chen had no idea how much time had passed. When Xiao Chen returned to the deck, he felt that about 1 day had passed. Then, the Haotian sect's king-grade warship stopped on a star with a diameter of 1,500 kilometers. This star was only 1,500 kilometers in diameter. It had to be said that this star was indeed very small. At the very least, with Xiao Chen's speed, he could easily make a round trip if he did not run into any danger. The warship stopped beside a black mountain range. The surroundings were desolate, filled with black soil. When Xiao Chen stepped on it, he felt a strong gravity. This somewhat overturned his previous understanding of the starry sky. It looked like he could not apply the knowledge of the starry sky of his previous life to the starry sky of this world. Not far from the mountain range was a long, winding black river. The river was pitch black. As it was too far away, the naked eye could not see what was flowing. Blackwater Star was named after this river. There was a forest on the other side of the river. Thick black clouds drifted endlessly above the forest, making it look very mysterious. Be careful. I will go and collect the spirit vein. Split into 2 teams, each with a vice palace master leading the team to kill astral beasts. Do not leave the team, Elder Bai said with an extremely grave expression after gathering everyone together. Of the 100-odd people, there was a team of 50. Each team had a vice palace master leading the way. The 2 vice palace masters were roughly equal in strength. Hence, there was no saying who would be safer. Xiao Chen and Shui Hao were split into the same team. Since the 2 of them were stronger, the vice palace masters arranged for them to be at the back in case of any mishaps. I really couldn't tell. This is your first time entering the starry sky, yet you are not nervous at all. Along the way, the 2 slowly grew familiar with each other. Shui Hao voiced the doubts in his heart. Xiao Chen did not feel anything. This was his nature. He could easily adapt to any environment. Furthermore, even if he was nervous, he would not show it on his face. Changing the topic, Xiao Chen asked, "How strong are the astral beasts? With your strength, can you kill them alone?" Shui Hao revealed a grave expression and said, "There are many types of astral beasts. They are roughly divided into ranks, from rank 1 to rank 6. A rank 1 astral beast is as strong as a half-sage. A rank 2 astral beast is as strong as a martial sage. A rank 3 astral beast is as strong as a medial-grade martial sage. A rank 4 astral beast is as strong as a superior-grade martial sage. A rank 5 astral beast is comparable to a grandmaster-level martial sage. As for a rank 6 astral beast, only the blue-robed emperor can deal with it. As for me, I can deal with a regular rank 1 astral beast alone. However, if I run into a powerful one, I will have to be careful. Otherwise, I might even lose my life." Unexpectedly, the lowest-ranked astral beast was as strong as a half-sage. This was truly flabbergasting. Xiao Chen said, "Only rank 6. Don't tell me there are no astral beasts above rank 6? Shui Hao smiled and said, "Naturally, there are. However, astral beasts above rank 6 are simply too horrifying. They can swallow up a star in one gulp and are known as destroyers. We will not be able to find them in this starry domain. We will have to go even deeper to find them. Furthermore, only the Emperor Wu can deal with them." As they were chatting, Xiao Chen suddenly stopped. He fixed his gaze on a sharp black rock at the back of the group. The black rock was 1 meter tall and had an irregular cylindrical shape. As it moved from the bottom to the top, it slowly became thinner and sharper at the top. Shui Hao asked, "What's wrong?" Xiao Chen waved his hand, indicating for Cui Hao to move aside. Then, he walked over to the sharp black rock and reached out to grab the hard rock. Rise! All the energy in his body surged as Xiao Chen shouted. Then, he grabbed the top of the rock and pulled. More than 1,000,000 kilograms of force burst out. Rumble. Cracks appeared on the ground. Following that, the rock shattered and flew into the air, shooting out in all directions. The entire ground shook violently. Everyone, scatter! The vice palace master in front shouted. The 50-odd people in the group reacted very quickly. They pushed off the ground and shot out. Cui Hao's expression changed slightly. What Xiao Chen lifted was not a rock. It was clearly the tail of an astral beast. That astral beast was 300 meters long. It looked like a huge crocodile. However, its skin was covered in sharp black rocks, looking horrifyingly hard. Black rock crocodile, an ordinary rank 2 astral beast. Its strength is equal to an inferior grade martial sage. It is very good at hiding its aura and can travel underground freely. Someone recognized this astral beast and was extremely astonished. If Xiao Chen had not fished it out in advance, someone would have been injured or eaten by this black rock crocodile. Xiao Chen grabbed the 20-meter-long tail of the black rock crocodile and leaped into the air. Then, he lifted this huge creature and swung it wildly in the air. Bang! 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 As Xiao Chen swung the black rock crocodile, he descended to the ground and smashed the huge body of the black rock crocodile into the ground. This repeated over and over, causing the ground to rumble. The rocky skin of the black rock crocodile fell off piece by piece. It tried to use the force of its tail to fling Xiao Chen away several times, but it did not succeed. Instead, Xiao Chen flung the black rock crocodile into the ground continuously. As he burned his vital qi, he used 1,100,000 kilograms of force to toy with this rank 2 astral beast. The group of people was dumbfounded. Was this still a horrifying rank 2 astral beast? Why was it like a toy in Xiao Chen's hands? The vice palace master was also slightly stunned. As far as he knew, the black rock crocodile was not only very strong but also very capable. Chapter 797. However, after Xiao Chen grabbed its tail and refused to let it go, it could not do anything. Xiao Chen swung the black rock crocodile to the ground, not giving it a chance to move at all. The black rock crocodile let out a horrifying shriek, rumbling endlessly. Everyone watched as Xiao Chen twirled the black rock crocodile around like a whip. For some reason, sympathy welled up in everyone's heart. That black rock crocodile was really unlucky. After a long time, the black rock crocodile's shrieks grew softer and softer. Finally, there was no sound. Suddenly, Xiao Chen felt the black rock crocodile's hard tail loosen. A group of previous true inheritors exclaimed, "What a freak!" They quickly flew over to take a look. They saw that the black rock crocodile was badly mangled, no different from mud. If they had not seen it before, they would not have been able to tell that this was a rank 2 astral beast, the black rock crocodile. It was as strong as an inferior grade martial sage. When Cui Hao flew over, he was speechless. An astral beast actually died just like that. He smiled bitterly and said, "Xiao Chen, go and see if there is an astral core." Any astral beast could fly freely in the starry heavens. By absorbing the energy of the universe, they had a chance of producing an extremely precious energy crystal core, an astral core. Xiao Chen scanned the pile of flesh and blood with his spiritual sense twice. Then, he discovered a crystal core with extremely dense energy. Joy appeared on his face as he stretched out his hand. A suction came out, and a white astral core appeared in Xiao Chen's hand. The eyes of the others lit up, revealing envious expressions. They said, unexpectedly, an astral core appeared. This Xiao Chen is really lucky. Although the white astral core is an inferior grade astral core, it is more than enough to sell for a few thousand black astral coins. When Xiao Chen heard the discussions of the surrounding people, he carefully put away the astral core. He asked, black astral coins. Chui Hao, what is a black astral coin? Chui Hao also had a somewhat envious expression in his eyes. He explained, black astral coins are essentially the same as astral coins. However, they contain denser astral iron and are worth even more. All the large trading centers in the starry heavens use black astral coins for transactions. However, your luck is really good. The chances of an astral core appearing in a rank 2 astral beast and below are pitifully low. This black rock crocodile is just an ordinary rank 2 astral beast. As soon as they set off, Xiaochen already had such a harvest. For the rest of the journey, the true inheritors of the previous batches all rubbed their eyes and searched for hidden astral beasts. He managed to find several astral beasts. After a few battles, he managed to kill quite a few astral beasts. However, none of them had condensed an astral core. Upon seeing this, the Vice Hall Master smiled without saying a word. Along the way, he was like a spectator, neither pointing out the hidden astral beasts nor lending a helping hand. He allowed the group of disciples to freely fight the astral beast. The unknown black lava flowed downstream in the riverbed. From time to time, bubbles would appear and float out. When the bubbles burst, there would be violent explosions. The entire riverbed was covered in such bubbles. A heavy smell of sulfur spread in the air, making everyone frown. This river was the Blackwater River that Xiaochen and the others saw in the distance. What flowed in this river was not water but this somewhat disgusting lava filled with intense energy. The group of 50 killed all sorts of astral beasts along the way and finally arrived at the riverbank. When they saw this scene, they were not very surprised. After all, anything could happen in the boundless starry heavens. A river flowing with black lava was not something strange or incomprehensible. The Vice Hall Master looked around before fixing his gaze on the black forest on the other side of the river. Xiao Chen, Chui Hao, I'll leave this place to you. I'll make a trip to the forest and be back soon. After saying that, his figure gently drifted over the wide black river and headed for the black forest, slowly disappearing from everyone's sight. Clearly, this was not Chui Hao's first time dealing with this matter. After giving some instructions to his fellow disciples, he returned. Along the way, the group had not fought many battles. However, they were still somewhat fatigued. So they closed their eyes to rest or chatted idly. Their tones were filled with anticipation. Xiaochen looked at the black forest. If he did not guess wrong, the Vice Hall Master should have gone in to hunt astral beasts of rank 3 and above. The Vice Hall Master left only astral beasts of rank 2 and below. Then, he let the group of people in and left them alone. Based on the fact that the Vice Hall Master did not run into any rank 3 astral beasts along the way, it was easy to figure this out. Indeed, not long later, sharp roars came from that black forest. Clearly, an intense battle was taking place. When we enter that black forest tomorrow, we should fight on our own, Chui Hao said as he tossed out a flask of wine, sitting across from Xiaochen. Xiaochen caught the flask of wine and took a swig. Then, he asked, "How long have you been in the Heavenly Battle Palace? It looks like you are already very familiar with this experiential training." Chui Hao took a sip of wine and smiled somewhat disappointedly. "It has been about 10 years. The experiential training is usually like this. They hunt down astral beasts that can kill us in an instant. Then, they scatter us and toss us in to fight on our own." 10 years sounded like a long period of time, but in Chui Hao's eyes, he didn't see many traces of time. Given Chui Hao's talent, he could definitely advance to Martial Sage before the age of 50. After advancing to Martial Sage, his lifespan would increase to 500 years. 10 years was indeed nothing in the long years that followed. However, at this moment, Chui Hao's expression appeared somewhat gloomy, looking very lonely. "Xiao Chen, what is the Tianwu domain like now? Have you heard of these people?" Suddenly, Chui Hao changed the topic, asking a question that had nothing to do with the experiential training. He mentioned several names, asking if Xiaochen knew them. Every time Chui Hao mentioned a name, Xiaochen would shake his head, indicating that he had not heard of them. When Cui Hao heard that, the originally gloomy expression in his eyes turned even more sorrowful. Only when Cui Hao mentioned a name did Xiao Chen answer, "And Juanxi. This person is very incredible now. He fought to a draw with the divine martial gates Feng Wuji and became the new holy scion of the Tianwu domain. He is now the most famous demonic genius." When Cui Hao heard this, he was stunned at first. Then, he burst out laughing. He laughed somewhat crazily. He took a big gulp of wine and said, "The waves of the river are endless. 10 years ago, the glorious and brilliant young talents were unrivaled. I did not expect that 10 years later, no one would know of them." Xiao Chen suddenly understood. It looked like the names that Cui Hao mentioned were incredible people back then, comparable to the 7 giants of today. They were all glorious and famous. Unfortunately, the age of geniuses had arrived. These names, which could have been passed down for generations, were overshadowed by the radiance of the later generations. The more tragic ones became the stepping stones for others. During ordinary times, becoming a half-sage at the age of 30 was already a startling matter. However, in this age of geniuses, they were just ordinary geniuses, unable to cause any ripples. Of the 7 giants, which one of them did not become a half-sage before the age of 30? They killed the older generation half-sage evil cultivators like they were pigs or dogs. Although they were full of lofty sentiments and lofty aspirations, the waves at the front did not have the time to express their aspirations before they were smashed to death by the waves at the back on the beach. Furthermore, it was the kind of ruthless stride that surpassed them, leaving them so far behind that their backs could not be seen. The peak of the age of geniuses only regretted being born at the wrong time, coming too early. To the cultivators who pursued the great Tao for thousands of years, this was truly a kind of sorrow. Outsiders would not be able to understand that sorrow. And Juanxi. 10 years ago, that brat could not even last 100 moves against me. Now, even the mythical Holy Sun cannot subdue him. After Cui Hao finished the wine in the flask, he poured it a few times. When he discovered that there was no water left, he casually tossed the wine flask into the surging black water. With a bang, it shattered into pieces. Xiao Chen remained silent. No wonder Cui Hao lost his composure when he heard that Juanxi had such accomplishments. It turned out that there was such a secret behind it. Cui Hao glanced at the previous true inheritors not far away, resting with their eyes closed. He said, "Xiao Chen, did you know? If nothing unexpected happens, most of the people in the Heavenly Battle Palace will advance to martial sage before the age of 100. In ordinary times, becoming a martial sage before the age of 100 might not be considered an absolute genius, but they will definitely become an overlord. After entering the Heavenly Battle Palace, these people all have all sorts of dreams in their hearts. However, you came and shattered all these dreams." Feeling suspicious, Xiao Chen asked, "Me? Actually, I have to thank you for coming early. Otherwise, if a large group of people came, it would have been even more unbearable. Although they have always been in the Heavenly Battle Palace, they know a little about the Age of Geniuses. They more or less guessed the ending. Your arrival only woke them up," Cui Hao said in a somewhat sullen voice. Cui Hao said in a low voice. Although he was talking about them, whether he admitted it or not, Cui Hao, was indeed one of the people who had been beaten awake. This time, the two chatted for a long time. Cui Hao talked about the geniuses and outstanding talents of his generation, the names of those who had been outstanding in their time. Xiao Chen also talked about the current Tianwu domain, about the 7 giants who were undefeatable, about the demonic geniuses like the sovereign noble clans Yan Shisan, and about the various outstanding talents of the Tianwu domain. In the end, Cui Hao drank too much and slowly fell asleep, leaving only Xiao Chen to talk. Xiao Chen spoke of his own story, his experiences along the way. He recalled many things and remembered many people's names. These names were once famous existences in the Sky Dome realm. Now, no one knew where they were. No one knew if they would rise up again one day. Toward the end, Xiao Chen suddenly understood something. The problem that perplexed him not long ago suddenly became clear. For the purple thunder divine incantation to break through from the 6th layer to the 7th layer, one had to undergo a lightning tribulation and a heart tribulation. Furthermore, if one was not careful, one would die, turning into ashes. At that time, Xiao Chen was indeed afraid. He was afraid of losing. He was afraid that after he died, he would have nothing. He was afraid that the fame that he had worked so hard for would be gone in an instant. Xiao Chen thought too highly of himself. He worried that after he turned into dust, he would be forgotten by the later generations. Hence, he felt afraid. Chapter 798. However, when one looked up at the starry heavens, there were countless stars. Even the most resplendent solar star would die of old age one day. In the past, Cui Hao had been very spirited as well. However, in less than 10 years, he became unknown. His glorious name faded with the wind. What did he, Xiao Chen, count for? Even if time passed and he reached the peak of the Great Tao, someone would eventually surpass him after tens of thousands of years. The river surged, and the waves were merciless. No one could stand at the peak forever. The peak was meant to be surpassed in the first place. With a panoramic view of the starry heavens, the expression in Xiao Chen's eyes became increasingly clear and bright. I don't care what others think of me 10,000 years from now. In this life, I will do my best to reach the peak and fight for the first rank. Even if I die, I will have no regrets. The next day, the Vice Palace Master returned from the Black Forest, reeking of blood. The cultivators who were either resting with their eyes closed or chatting idly all had grave expressions. Everyone knew that this trial was about to truly begin. The Heavenly Battle Palace's experiential training had always been cruel. People like the Vice Palace Master would not help you. You had to deal with all the difficulties and dangers yourself. Unless there was an astral beast that could instantly kill a cultivator appeared. Only in such a cruel fight could one truly bring out one's potential. Only then could one truly achieve the experiential training's purpose. Otherwise, everyone knew that no matter what, they would not face the threat of death. They would feel that they had a path of retreat and would never be able to bring out their full potential. I have already slaughtered all the rank 3 astral beasts. I have also killed some of the peak rank 2 ferocious astral beasts that can instantly kill you. The rest will depend on yourselves, the Vice Palace Master said sullenly as he swept his gaze over the group of 50-odd people. This was not the first time the previous true inheritors had participated in such an experiential training, so they were mentally prepared. All of them soared into the air and revealed a murderous intent in their eyes. Then, they silently headed for the Black Forest. Xiao Chen followed the crowd and carefully entered the Black Forest, starting his first small-scale experiential training in the starry heavens. The high-grade astral beasts in the forest had already been killed. To Xiao Chen, this was not really dangerous. In fact, it was rather ordinary. However, hunting astral beasts also gave Xiao Chen an opportunity to practice the lightning tribulation saber technique. The brand new lightning tribulation saber technique required intense battles to accumulate familiarity. 3 days later, some of the injured disciples were forced to withdraw helplessly. They dragged their blood-stained bodies to the Vice Hall Master to treat their injuries. With each passing day, a large number of disciples would emerge from the forest. Most of the people had gained something. A few of them even discovered ores in the forest that were no less valuable than the flame crystal stones, causing them to smile happily. There were also some people who were barely alive when they walked out, chased by the astral beasts into a sorry state. 6 days later, only Xiao Chen and Cui Hao were left in the team of 50 people. On the other side of the Blackwater River, one could see the occasional flickering of lightning in the forest. There was also the drifting yellow moonlight. Clearly, Xiao Chen and Cui Hao still had energy to spare. However, around dusk, Cui Hao came out with a joyful expression. When the others asked around, they found out that Cui Hao had obtained 2 astral cores in this experiential training. This was a great harvest, so they all felt envious. 8 days later, 100 bolts of berserk electric pythons suddenly shot out from the Black Forest and soared into the sky. They were 100 purple electric pythons. Under the observation of the previous true inheritors, they all transformed at the same time, turning from pythons into flood dragons. They roared ferociously at the boundless starry heavens, giving off a bright light that tore through the sky. Cui Hao's expression changed. He muttered, "It looks like his lightning tribulation saber technique improved again." The instant the electric light vanished, a white figure appeared in the sky above the forest, quickly descending towards the place where everyone was gathered. Soon, Xiaochen gently floated down, holding the lunar shadow saber as he slowly landed. When the Vice Palace Master saw the withdrawn killing chi and calm expression in Xiaochen's eyes, he vaguely felt that Xiaochen was somewhat unfathomable. After the experiential training ended, the two teams met up. The other team had been waiting for a long time already. After everyone was gathered, the King-grade warship started its return journey. The journey back to planet Haotian was very smooth. They did not run into any ghost race or corpse race cultivators. One day later, they arrived safely at planet Haotian. Xiaochen collected the deep-sea coumarin grass and the spiritual milk to recover quintessence. Then, he returned to the Heaven Series training room. There was less than half a month left in the Heaven Series training room. Xiaochen did not want to waste any more time. After resting for a while, Xiaochen entered deep thought. Then, he started to count his gains on this trip. With a flip of his hand, 2 flame crystal rocks appeared in his palm. One had a dim luster, and the other had a moving glow. The flame crystal rocks were of great help to cultivators of the state of fire. However, they were not very useful to Xiaochen. However, absorbing these 2 flame crystal rocks had a high chance of directly comprehending the state of fire, saving him a lot of effort. After thinking for a while, Xiaochen finally decided not to sell this flame crystal rock. Perhaps he might be able to use it in the future. This was a treasure that could only be found and not sought. Once he sold it, he would have to spend several times the price to buy it again. After that, Xiaochen took out 2 white astral cores. After obtaining an inferior-grade astral core from the Black Rock Crocodile, he continued his experiential training in the Black Forest. After killing more than 200 rank 2 astral beasts, he finally obtained another astral core. The astral core contained horrifying energy. Xiaochen could clearly feel it. If this energy exploded, even his physical body would not be able to endure it. In the starry heavens, astral cores had many uses. Not only could they be embedded in all sorts of spirit weapons, but they could also be used as the energy source of all sorts of warships. In fact, if one were to use it directly and cause it to explode, they could even injure their enemies. However, no one would be so wasteful as to use such a precious treasure. Xiaochen looked at the lunar shadow saber in his hand. This saber was a heaven-ranked spirit weapon. Most sovereign noble clan scions or powerful demonic geniuses would have weapons of the same grade as subdivine weapons. And Juanshi's true dragon lightning whip, First Senior Sister's purple bow, Yan Shirsan's heavenly ice sword, and the inherited holy weapons of the 3 holy masters were all of the same grade. A good weapon could greatly increase a cultivator's strength. Previously, Juanshi did not have a suitable weapon, which was why he could not defeat the divine martial gate's Feng Wuji. It was time for the lunar shadow saber to be upgraded. The demonic cores embedded in it could no longer keep up. They had to be replaced with high-ranked astral cores. The other materials needed to be replaced. Xiaochen withdrew his gaze and said softly, "I have to advance to Martial Sage as soon as possible." "No, time is too tight." The resources and materials needed to upgrade the lunar shadow saber to a subdivine weapon would definitely be vast. If he did not advance to Martial Sage, he would not be able to find so many resources. The opportunity to advance to Martial Sage lay in the Breaking Sage Pill. It looked like after obtaining the Heavenly Dew Divine Spring, he had to make a trip to the Ying clan. Xiaochen collected his thoughts and finally took out the Death Throne. This was an absolute treasure that everyone loved and hated at the same time. A light flashed on Xiaochen's forehead as he stared at the throne floating in the air. After a while, he finally made up his mind. Xiaochen focused his vast spiritual sense on the purple lightning talisman. With a flash of electric light, he entered a world of death filled with black qi. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense turned into a body. He held the purple lightning talisman in his right hand as he looked calmly at the vast, boundless black death chi below. It looked like the world within the massacre throne. However, the scarlet sea was now black. Ha ha ha. To think that you actually dared to come in. This is my world. No one can escape. The black sea churned, and a strand of black chi came out of it. Then, it formed Wang Can's appearance. He looked at Xiao Chen's spiritual sense with a sinister gaze. Wang Can's eyes were filled with boundless arrogance and insufferably arrogance, preparing to swallow up Xiao Chen's spiritual sense. However, when he saw the purple talisman in Xiao Chen's hand, this strand of Wang Can's spiritual mark was greatly startled. Horror appeared in his eyes as he thought of something. Then, he quickly dove into the sea below. Lightning was the most berserk and tyrannical energy in the world. Of all the energies, it dealt the greatest damage to evil mental bodies. Without this copy of the divine lightning and the immortal lightning talisman, Xiao Chen would not have been so careless to send his spiritual sense into the death throne. Xiao Chen remained expressionless as he pointed at Wang Can's spiritual mark. The purple talisman flew out and struck it before it dove into the Black Sea. Immediately, miserable shrieks rang out in this strange world. All sorts of hateful curses surged towards Xiao Chen like the tide. Xiao Chen did not care about them. He let the purple lightning talisman strike the other party until his body and soul were destroyed, completely disappearing from this world. After searching for a while and confirming that he could not find Wang Can's spiritual mark, Xiao Chen stretched out his hand and retrieved the purple lightning talisman. However, Xiao Chen's expression did not relax at all. Wang Can's spiritual mark was just an insignificant existence in the death throne. The truly powerful one was in the depths of this boundless sea. That was an existence that made Xiao Chen feel fear. In the past, when he was on the massacre throne, he had suffered a lot from that existence's torture and torment. In a king-grade corpse dragon worship on the ancient starry heavens path, Wang Can paled and vomited a large mouthful of black blood. He said somewhat weakly, "Father, that person destroyed my spiritual mark in the death throne." The person Wang Can addressed as father was the expert with the golden corpse embroidered on his chest, who had blocked Elder Bai with a wave of his hand. This person smiled faintly and said unconcernedly, "This is for the best. You have not been able to subdue the evil king's mark in the death throne. If you hold on to it for a long time, it will be a hidden danger." Wang Can's expression changed. He asked, "Father, what do you mean?" Wang Can's father said sullenly, "His immortal will of thunder has a natural counter to this kind of spiritual mark. It might be able to completely destroy the death mark that the evil king left. At that time, you will obtain the complete death throne and become a powerful corpse king. If you can subdue the massacre throne as well, you will definitely be world-shaking." After Wang Can heard that, he could not help but reveal an excited expression. Chapter 799. The Black Sea roared ferociously in the world inside the throne. There seemed to be a boundless abyss in the distance, looking at Xiao Chen emotionlessly. Immortal scripts slowly flowed on the purple lightning talisman in Xiao Chen's hand, flickering with a faint golden light. Electricity crackled. Xiao Chen looked into the distance and entered deep thought. Massacre and death were one in the first place. Without massacre, there would be no death. Massacre was the method, and death was the result. The two were related to the beginning and the end. From a certain point of similarity, they should be the same state. With such a common state, Xiao Chen thought of reincarnation. The end did not mean the end. However, the state that reincarnation represented was very vast. It was not something that could be combined with massacre and death. Xiao Chen could only be sure of the answer after he collected the other 5 thrones. The others only focused on a single attribute of the throne. The corpse race and the ghost race wanted the death throne because it was compatible with the death Tao that they cultivated. They could better control corpses and ghosts, greatly increasing their strength. However, Xiao Chen thought even further. Of course, his answer might not be correct. When the 7 thrones merged, it did not represent reincarnation. It was the primal chaos, eternal life, or nothingness. No one could say for sure. Xiao Chen stared at the farthest part of the sea. In the end, he gave up on making a move. Ordinary people only needed to focus on one state to become a powerful expert. Right now, Xiao Chen had not even completely grasped the massacre Dao. If he tried to cultivate the death Dao, he would be seeking his own death. It was like an ant overestimating itself and trying to eat an elephant. Xiao Chen's spiritual sense flashed, and he leaped out. His vision returned to the real world. With a flip of his hand, he placed the death throne in his universe ring. If he could collect all 7 thrones in the future, he might be able to cultivate an unprecedented peak state. In less than half a month, the Sage War, which would determine the spots for the Heavenly Dew Divine Spring, would begin. He had to make good use of the Heaven Series training room. The pressure in the combat room increased. Ignoring his fatigue and hard work, Xiao Chen continued to stabilize his new Lightning Tribulation Saber technique, bringing it closer to himself. 5 days later, when the spiritual milk ran out, Xiao Chen dragged his injured body to the cultivation room. Then, he frantically absorbed the spiritual energy of the spirit veins origin under the prayer mat. Soon, the last day of the Heaven Series training room arrived. Xiao Chen took out the energy crystal of Emperor Wu's will clone. After activating the energy crystal, an old man made of light instantly appeared in the combat room of the Heaven Series training room. The old man's aura did not look very strong. At the very least, Xiao Chen did not feel any pressure. The will clone sealed in this crystal looks like it only has 100th or 1,000th of a martial emperor's strength. However, it should still have its combat experience and techniques. That should be enough. The old man wore robes of alternating blue and white. He stood there empty-handed as he looked at Xiao Chen, his eyes gleaming with spirit. He said, "My true body is already destroyed. This will clone has been used for several thousand years already. I can only appear for an hour now. Make good use of it." Xiao Chen nodded his head seriously. He slowly drew the lunar shadow saber and slowly accumulated his aura. A vast sea slowly appeared behind him. It was the dragon subduing Slash's blue dragon emerging from the sea. Xiao Chen had never used this crystal that sealed Emperor Wu's will avatar. He planned to use it to comprehend the third move of the dragon subduing Slash. The Lightning Tribulation Saber technique was a commonly used martial technique. The dragon subduing Slash was the true trump card. Rumble. 999 pillars of water soared into the sky. A blue dragon leaped out of the sea, and a 300-meter-long dragon-shaped saber chi instantly formed. Xiao Chen roared ferociously. It sounded like a true dragon roaring as he hacked at the old man in front. The old man was slightly stunned. When he saw the saber technique Xiao Chen executed, he said, "I have not seen the dragon subduing Slash for several tens of thousands of years. You learned it pretty well. Unfortunately, you are still far from great perfection." The old man kicked off the ground and gathered all his quintessence in his palm. He spun around and quickly dodged the strong wind formed by the dragon-shaped saber chi. Xiao Chen used the choking hand to choke the neck of the dragon-shaped saber chi. The mighty and unparalleled dragon-shaped saber chi with a flourishing aura seemed to have struck its weakness, instantly scattering. Xiao Chen was startled. He had not expected the blue dragon emerging from the sea to have such an opening. Xiao Chen stomped on the air, and an inextinguishable dragon roar came from his body. His figure advanced rapidly. When his aura reached its peak, Xiao Chen soared into the air. Auspicious clouds covered his body, materializing a soaring dragon. The old man's figure flickered. He smiled and said, "This move is pretty good. You have already grasped 80% of its essence." The old man's clothes fluttered, and his expression sank. He formed hand seals and pointed ferociously at Xiao Chen, who was soaring like a true dragon. A huge finger seemed to come from beyond the heavens, carrying a strong heavenly might. It gently tapped Xiao Chen's aura, pressing down on him the moment his aura rose. Bang! Blood leaked out of a corner of Xiao Chen's mouth. The soaring dragon's momentum was instantly broken, and he tumbled a few times before standing up. As Xiao Chen looked at the old man in the air, he entered deep thought. The strength that the other party used was no stronger than peak inferior grade martial sage. However, he could easily find the openings in Xiao Chen's moves and break them. However, this was a good thing. Xiao Chen was not afraid of openings. He was afraid of openings that he did not know and could still be pleased with himself. Again. The sounds of intense fighting rang out in the combat room once more. Although the old man was only an inferior grade martial sage, he relied on his vast combat experience and insight to torture Xiao Chen to the point where he hovered between life and death. After more than 100 moves, Xiao Chen finally patched up some of the weaknesses of Return of the Azure Dragon and Dragon Soars in the Sky. He had gained a lot. The light on the old man's body dimmed. Soon, he would return to the crystal. Xiao Chen took a deep breath, and the blue dragon martial spirit in his dantian split into two. The quintessence it carried flowed along two different meridians. Slowly, two azure-colored dragon images appeared on the slender lunar shadow saber in Xiao Chen's hand. They coiled around the saber. A speck of light as resplendent as the sun appeared at the tip of the saber. Dragon subduing slash's third move, twin dragons playing with pearls. The saber tip flashed with light, and in an instant, it reflected the old man's figure. Then, it quickly flew towards him. The two dragon images formed and chased after that speck of light. When the old man saw this move, his expression turned somewhat grave. He glanced at that formless light and his figure flickered around the combat room. However, no matter how the old man dodged, that speck of light locked onto the old man and chased him relentlessly. The two dragon images quickly formed behind it. The dragon scales on the old man's body were clearly visible. The dragon horns on the old man's head and the dragon chi he spat out made it hard to distinguish the real from the fake. A faint dragon might slowly spread out. Finally, the old man sighed helplessly and stopped. He said, "Never mind. I should have known that I would not be able to dodge such a shameless move." That speck of light instantly entered the old man's body, and the two blue dragons flew out. A strong wind blew, lightning flashed, and thunder roared. The old man threw a palm strike and circulated his quintessence, using the remaining energy to clash head-on with this move. An intense explosion rang out, accompanied by the horrifying fluctuations of surging quintessence. A wave of cyan light swept out. Ka Xie! Ka Xie! Several combat puppets stopped at the edge of the combat room instantly collapsed. When everything vanished, the old man's figure could no longer be seen. He must have returned to the crystal. Xiao Chen panted, his complexion pale. This move used his origin energy and exhausted a lot of it. However, it looked like the effects were pretty good. Even Emperor Wu could not find any openings. Unable to dodge, he could only receive it head-on. Two dragons playing with pearls was just the beginning. If Xiao Chen cultivated it further, he could execute 3 dragons playing with pearls, 4 dragons playing with pearls, and even the highest level of 9 dragons playing with pearls. When Xiao Chen saw some of the precious combat puppets in the combat room shattered into pieces, he felt somewhat vexed. He did not know if the Haotian sect would call him over for compensation. Closing his eyes and sitting cross-legged, Xiao Chen entered a state of selflessness. Then, he started to carefully comprehend his gains in the past hour, memorizing the openings of the first 2 moves of the dragon subduing slash. When the sky turned dark, Shui Lingling's cry came from outside the Heaven Series training room. Xiao Chen opened his eyes and executed Thunder Dragon steps, leaping out the door in a few breaths. Shui Lingling glanced at Xiao Chen and discovered that the expression in his eyes had become even more reserved. She could no longer see through him. When Xiao Chen looked carefully, the purple heavenly sage laws behind him were actually hazy as well. She could only see countless electric sparks crackling and flickering endlessly. As Xiao Chen walked, he gained a sharpness that had not been there before. He gave off a faint king-grade true dragon chi, which surprised Shui Lingling the most. In the past, Xiao Chen had been this reserved as well, simple and unadorned. However, he had kept his sharpness hidden in his heart, not revealing it at all. Now, for some reason, he actually revealed a trace of his sharpness. Given his cultivation, it was not that he could not control this sharpness. Instead, he did it casually, not suppressing it on purpose. Did this mean that the unparalleled saber with unparalleled sharpness had already decided to leave its scabbard and fight for its place in this age of geniuses? With just one meeting, Shui Lingling thought of many things from Xiao Chen. Furthermore, her guesses were very accurate. Xiao Chen glanced at Shui Lingling, feeling somewhat astonished. Her improvement in the past month was no weaker than his. Xiao Chen did not know where exactly she cultivated, but the effects were no weaker than in the Heaven Series training room. First senior sister, why are you looking for me? Xiao Chen asked. Shui Lingling took out a crystal and handed it to Xiao Chen seriously. This is a will clone that my master specially condensed for you. It has 1/10 of his strength. To condense this will clone, he needs to recuperate for 5 years. However, as long as a martial emperor does not appear, this will clone can protect your life at any time. Xiao Chen received the crystal and felt the energy in it. It was much stronger than the aura of the old man in the cultivation room. Hence, what Shui Lingling said was true. Such a life-saving item was something that Xiao Chen urgently needed. He could not help but have a favorable impression of this Haotian emperor, whom he had never met before. Let's go. Let's gather at the first elder's place. We are going to the central province's Bushin Palace. Chapter 800. Shui Lingling smiled gently and called out the profound sun bird. Then, she picked up Xiao Chen and flew to a rather majestic transportation formation on the Haotian star. Spiritual energy filled the undulating mountain ranges. Lush vegetation filled the air, and spirit beasts roamed the place. The dense aura of life made it impossible to associate this place with the cold starry heavens. The surroundings of the Haotian sect of the star had been completely remodeled. It was not much different from the Kunlun realm. Xiao Chen and Shui Lingling arrived above a transportation formation surrounded by 4 mountain peaks. The first elder, Han Qinghe, several inner sect elders, and the many true inheritors preparing to participate in the Sage War arrived. Yu Chenxi, Jun Si, and the others had all arrived long ago. When Xiao Chen saw these familiar faces, he asked, "First senior sister, could it be that we use this transportation formation to get directly to the central province's Bushin Palace?" Shui Lingling smiled gently and said, "What's wrong? Do you think that it is impossible? With enough astral cores, we can even send you to the Sky Dome realm. This is something the Haotian sect spent the blood and sweat of the 4th generation of Emperor Wu to build. Directly send me back to the Sky Dome realm?" When Xiao Chen heard this, his eyes lit up. He still had many ties to the Sky Dome realm. They were all there: Lu Riyue, Lu Suifeng, old friends of the Xiao clan. Xiao Yulan, Feng Feishue, Ingyu, all these fresh names were etched in the depths of Xiao Chen's mind. He had never forgotten them. In the past, Xiao Chen had thought that he would not return until he reached Emperor Wu. However, now that he thought about it, this was a heartless promise. Martial Emperor was the peak of the martial Dao. Xiao Chen did not know how long it would take before he could reach it. Shui Lingling's ordinary words unintentionally touched the softest part of Xiao Chen's heart. "Junior brother Xiao Chen, are you all right? We are going down." Xiao Chen came back to his senses, smiled, and gently landed on the ground. When the first elder, Han Qinghe, saw the two of them coming over, he gently waved his hand and called them to the side. His expression was somewhat grave as he said, "Let me tell you two some bad news. The sovereign noble clans of the profound domain will be coming to participate in the Sage Saint ranking of our Bushin Palace." Xiao Chen's expression did not change, but ripples appeared in his heart. The strength of the sovereign noble clans was comparable to the Holy Lands. Normally, they would not submit to the Bushin Palace. The ranking of the proud Son of Heaven ranking did not include these people. Yan Shisan's horrifying strength. If all the scions of the sovereign noble clans were as strong as him, the proud Son of Heaven ranking would not be able to rank them. If he wanted to get into the top 10 in this Sage War and obtain a spot for himself, he would probably have to face some difficulties. Shui Lingling said mockingly, "They must be here for the heavenly dew divine spring." Normally, these sovereign noble clans do not care about the life or death of the human race. Now, they know that they are part of the human race. The heavenly dew divine spring cleansed the marrow and cleansed the blood. It was infused with the heavenly Tao's origin energy. It contained great luck, allowing a cultivator to advance to martial emperor before the age of 100. In Kunlun Mountain, it took 10,000 years for the heavenly dew divine spring to fill up. This was a rare opportunity. It would be hard for those sovereign noble clans not to think about it. Han Qinghe sighed. Under the combined pressure of the four sovereign noble clans, the Bushan Palace had no choice but to take a step back. If they really started a civil war, the human race would not be able to bear it. An inner sect elder at the side said helplessly, "We can only blame the three holy masters for not living up to expectations in the past few years." If the Dragon's Gate's Qing Emperor were still around, these sovereign noble clans would not dare to say anything. Han Qinghe said, "Now that things have come to this, there is no point in complaining. The two of you just have to do your best." There were many outstanding talents in history who did not soak in this heavenly dew divine spring. Han Qinghe spoke very generously, but everyone could hear the regret in the first elder's voice. Xiao Chen performed a cupped fist salute and said, "First elder, rest assured. Xiao Chen has received many favors from the Haotian sect. On this trip, I will definitely fight for a spot for the Haotian sect." As Xiao Chen spoke, he revealed his sharpness, showing great self-confidence. Shui Lingling said with a resolute expression, "First elder, rest assured. Shui Lingling will also do her best to fight for a spot for the Haotian sect." Han Qinghe smiled faintly. Under the influence of the two, he said with a heroic spirit, "Since the two of you are so confident, why would I say such discouraging words? I would be undervaluing myself too much. So what if the sovereign noble clans come? Let's go. Let's fight them for now." After the first elder spoke, he gave some instructions. The nearby inner sect elders started to slowly fill the complicated and vast interstellar transportation formation with high-ranked astral cores. So. Pillars of light shot up from the formation lines. Space started to fluctuate intensely, and a huge black hole appeared above everyone's heads. The interior of the black hole was intertwined with complex time and space coordinates. A boundless suction force surged out, directly pulling everyone in. Xiao Chen felt his body stretch infinitely. Finally, he turned into tiny particles. His body disappeared, leaving only his thoughts in this space-time tunnel. Xiao Chen flew off into the distance at a speed that cultivators could not comprehend. By the time Xiao Chen felt his body reassemble, the group had already arrived at another transportation formation. When they looked around, they saw a sea of people. The scenery also felt familiar. "We've arrived. Let's go directly to the proud son of heaven ranking." Han Qinghe waved his hand, and a king-grade warship appeared. Then, he raised the Haotian sect's banner and led the group to the Bushan Palace's proud son of heaven ranking. The surroundings were densely packed with all sorts of warships and spirit beasts. The air buzzed with noise. All the superior grade sects of the entire Tianwu domain had arrived. The Sage War was a major event of the human race every 4 years. At that time, the proud son of heaven ranking would be completely disrupted and reshuffled. Coincidentally, this Sage War happened to coincide with the reopening of the heavenly dew divine lake. Such a grand scene was not strange at all. However, Xiao Chen was not used to going from absolute silence to such a noisy environment. The warship traveled through the somewhat crowded sky. After 1 hour, they finally arrived at the proud son of heaven ranking. The original sage wall had been moved somewhere else. Now, only 1,000 sage lamps remained, arranged in the shape of a pyramid. An empty space appeared within 5 kilometers of the proud son of heaven ranking. It was like a formless barrier covered the entire area from the sky to the ground. The warships that gathered from all directions collapsed from top to bottom. With the proud son of heaven ranking as the core, they formed a huge ring. Shao Chen stood on the deck and looked down. At the bottom of the proud son of heaven ranking, he saw his lamp. He could not help but feel slightly stunned. Then, he revealed a smile. It had been close to 2 years. Unexpectedly, no one had been able to break his lamp yet. The Haotian sect's people are here. There were at least 3,000 or 4,000 warships stationed around the proud son of heaven ranking, from the ground to the sky. The flag on each warship represented a sect. With one glance, although there were many sects, the true 9 ranks of the great families were few in number. This was especially so for the ones like the Haotian sect, which could be considered part of the 9 ranks of the great families, which were even rarer. When the proud son of heaven ranking appeared, it immediately attracted the attention of several people, many of whom were old acquaintances of Shao Chen. The full moon pavilions Feng Xingsheng, the battle realms Niu Dang, the Shimen noble clans Shimen Bao, the 1,000 mysteries sects Hua Dao, the 7 giants Wang Meng, and the passionate young master, Murong Lingfeng, had all arrived long ago. I heard that the demonic genius who occupied the last rank of the proud son of heaven ranking for close to 2 years is on the Haotian sect's warship. That fellow is really a demonic genius. After coming to the Kunlun realm for 2 years, he already comprehended a will and defeated the extreme Yin sects by wuxue. However, he is really too insincere. He occupied the last rank for 2 years without bothering about it. Who knows how many new disciples of the various sects are cursing him in secret. There is no reward for being the last rank. This fellow does not know how to spend some time to increase his ranking. Shao Chen felt somewhat surprised. He had not expected all the discussions about the Haotian sect to focus on him. Jun Si, who was at the side, smiled and said, "Junior brother Shao Chen, it looks like your popularity now rivals that of the 7 giants. In the past, when others mentioned the Haotian sect, they talked about our first senior sister the most." When Shui Lingling heard this, she smiled casually and said, 7 giants? Now, there are no more 7 giants. If one does not comprehend a will, they will be eliminated by the passing of time. They will never be able to stand at the peak. Shao Chen could not help but view her in a new light. Based on what Shui Lingling said, it seemed like she had comprehended a will long ago. However, he could not tell from her appearance. As Shao Chen chatted with the others, the noisy scene suddenly turned quiet. It was like someone incredible had arrived. Pu Ci. Suddenly, a bright, dazzling holy light descended from the sky. Shao Chen squinted slightly. 3 emperor-grade warships that surpassed king-grade slowly appeared in the sky. One looked like the deep-sea heavenly turtle, the black tortoise, one looked like the vermilion bird, the eastern divine bird, and one looked like the white tiger, the holy beast in the clouds. The holy light was very dazzling, enveloping everyone. The people of the 3 holy masters are coming out. The many cultivators, who had been silent for a while, looked up. Then, they all erupted in excitement. The voices turned into waves, rising and falling. As they drifted, several warships shook. The bright light could not obscure Shao Chen's eyes. The boundless holy might could not suppress the surging hot-bloodedness in Shao Chen's heart. The Phoenix's Passion Palace, the Divine Martial Gate, and the White Emperor City of the 3 holy masters finally saw their true appearance. He wondered how glorious the 3 holy masters were now. Whoosh! 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 Just at this moment, 4 warships appeared in the east. Holy might spread out, and the light they gave off did not diminish. Unexpectedly, they were also emperor-grade warships that surpassed king-grade warships. From left to right, the flags on the warships had the words Yan, Ying, Jiang, and Lin written on them. These were the 4 sovereign noble clans of the human race. The warships of these 4 clans were no weaker than the 3 holy masters' warships. They seemed to be competing against each other. A few youths, male or female, stood at the bow of each warship. These were the absolute geniuses the sovereign noble clans sent to fight for the slots. This time, the 4 clans were very ambitious. Each clan wanted to obtain at least 2 slots, leaving only 2 for the other sects of the Tianwu domain. On the warship in the middle, a Jiang clan old man beckoned. 3 people jumped down from each of the other 3 warships, 1 old man and 2 youths. Chapter 801. The Jiang clan old man smiled gently and dismissed everyone else on the bow. Aside from the 2 core geniuses of the various clans, only the leaders of the various clans remained on the deck. These 4 old men were all Grandmaster-level martial sages. Furthermore, there was a bright light on their foreheads. They seemed to have comprehended wills. None of them were weaker than the Haotian sex elder Bai. In fact, their accumulations seemed to be slightly higher. When looking carefully, the heavenly sage laws behind them all linked together, forming rings of light that ranged from small to large. With one glance, it was impossible to tell how many rings there were. It was clear that his cultivation had already reached the peak of martial sage. He was only a step away from becoming a quasi-emperor. The Jiang clan old man took the lead and said, "This time, everyone should have the same goal. So, to avoid internal conflicts, I feel that we need to discuss this first." The leader of the Yin clan group was an old woman who still retained her charm. A man and a woman followed behind her. The man was handsome and elegant, exuding a righteous air of royalty. If Xiao Chen were here, he would immediately recognize the woman beside the man as Ying Qiong, whom he had an agreement with. However, at this moment, Ying Qiong wore gorgeous golden battle armor, outlining her perfect figure. She wore a golden phoenix coronet on her head, looking very noble and honorable. Her solemn and dignified expression made it hard to connect her to the mischievous girl who played tricks in the Star Grave Palace. The Yin clan old woman said, "Naturally, we have to discuss this. However, how should we discuss this? Does old brother Jiang have any good ideas?" The 2 old men leading the Yen clan and Lin clan remained silent. Clearly, they tacitly agreed to the discussion as they waited for the Jiang clan old man to continue. The Jiang clan old man smiled and said, "It's very simple. Everyone will rely on their own strength. We will fight fairly and not kill each other. Later, 1,000 thrones will appear in the sky. Each throne will have a number behind it. As long as you can sit on a throne, the number behind it will be your rank on the proud Son of Heaven ranking. If you rank in the top 10, you will be qualified to enter the Heavenly Dew Divine Spring." Everyone knew about this rule. Every time the sage and saint ranking was reshuffled, it would be like this. All the rankings would be messed up and the ranking would be rearranged. Everyone looked at this peak martial sage of the Jiang clan, waiting for him to continue. The higher the ranking, the greater the reward. However, with the wealth of our 4 families, some of the rewards from Bushan Palace are nothing to us. There's no need to fight for empty titles. As long as you can get a spot, you can accept being in the top 10. This time, there are quite a few disciples from the various clans who have come to participate in the rankings. However, you and I both know that the ones who can truly compete are the heirs of the various clans who have comprehended will. In this aspect, our 4 clans are not inferior to each other. We all have 2 princes who have comprehended will. In other words, we can fight for 8 spots. The old man from the Jiang clan paused for a moment before continuing, "What I want to say is very simple. Regardless of which throne is in the top 10, as long as the core disciples of the 4 clans are fighting for it, the other 7 must give up unconditionally. They can only fight for another throne." The Grandmaster-level martial sages of the other 3 clans lowered their heads in deep thought. They felt that what the Jiang clan old man said was acceptable. In this way, the internal friction between the various clans could be avoided to the greatest extent, and the benefits of each clan would be maximized. The Ying clan matron turned her head and discussed with Ying Qiong and another heir for a while before saying, "Our Ying clan agrees to this agreement." The Lin clan old man nodded and said, "Our Lin clan agrees as well." The Yen clan Grandmaster-level martial sage turned his head and asked in a soft voice, "Shirsan, Shirsi, what do you think?" One of the 2 Yen clan heirs was Yen Shirsan, whom Xiao Chen had met once before. The other was Yen Shirsi. These 2 had similar names, but their auras were completely different. Yen Shirsan cultivated the killing sword Dao. He had a stern, cold, and emotionless expression. Yen Shirsi's handsome appearance was radiant and generous, giving people a natural sense of closeness. First Elder, just make the decision. I have no objections, Yen Shirsi said in a melodious voice as he smiled gently. Yen Shirsan's lips moved, and he said, it doesn't matter. In the end, the Yen clan also agreed to this agreement. The Jiang clan old man smiled and said, good. Let's discuss the specifics of how to make use of the disciples of the other clans to cause trouble for our competitors. While the 4 sovereign clans discussed how to obtain the most spots, the leading elders of the 3 holy masters were not idle either. They were anxiously making arrangements. At the same time, the clans that believed that they had the strength to fight for the top 10 were also anxiously making arrangements. However, most of the sect disciples did not even think about getting into the top 10. To them, the sage ranking was just a grand event of the human race that happened once every 4 years. What they needed to do was to take advantage of this reshuffle and the chaotic battles to fight for their own rankings on the proud Son of Heaven ranking. As for the heavenly dew divine spring, it was destined to be an unattainable fantasy. It was not something they could touch. The arrival of the sovereign clans pushed the atmosphere to a climax. All sorts of discussions rang out endlessly. The fight for the top 10 was about to begin. This would be a chaotic battle for all the geniuses of the human race. Whoever could stand out would be the center of attention. The glory of the past could only become history. Only by getting into the top 10 could one truly obtain a spot in this age of geniuses. Ka Xie. Ka Xie. Starting from the one belonging to Shao Chen, the 1,000 oil lamps on the proud Son of Heaven ranking started shattering one after another. The surroundings immediately fell silent. Everyone knew that the true chaotic battle was about to begin. The battlefield was about to begin. Until the end of time, my body is light. I am free and unfettered. Glory will not die for 10,000 years, hot-bloodedness will never die out. One will not grow old even after traveling 1,000 mountains, one will not come even after looking through the autumn waters and winter. I hold the sun and the moon and pluck the stars, what can I do even if the entire world is my enemy? When the oil lamp that belonged to the White Emperor city Xia Hojue at the top of the pyramid shattered, a sage's voice rang out like the song of the great Tao, resounding in the world. The imprints of the predecessors of the human race all turned into images of light and soared into the sky. The voices of the various sages reverberated endlessly in the world. The disciples of the various sects on the surrounding warships all showed excited expressions. Under the influence of the sages' voices, they felt like they had returned to the ancient era, the most glorious period of the human race. Back then, at the peak of the martial Tao, hundreds of races fought in a chaotic battle. The predecessors of the human race shone with light, using great strength and wisdom. For the disciples of the later generations, they established a great empire, passing it down to this day and never falling. That was an age of epic proportions. Heroes came in large numbers, outstanding talents rose endlessly. Emperors were as common as the clouds, and sages filled the land. Now, the age of geniuses arrived again. The peak of the martial epic would appear once more. Who could be unrivaled under the heavens and rule over the billions of humans? Since ancient times, the sages have always been lonely. The 10,000 years of mundane affairs are all for naught. A desolate sage voice suddenly rang out. The fire-like great Tao voice in the world suddenly stopped, and the image of a white-haired old man appeared in the sky. That was the spiritual mark left by the human sovereign of the ancient era. Even now, it had not extinguished. The human sovereign pointed to the sky, and the other human sages did the same. Boom! Space trembled, and a small world suddenly opened in the void. A black curtain of night covered the land. A vast star chart slowly unfurled in the sky. Many thrones with numbers on their backs floated in the dreamlike river of stars, giving off a light. After summoning the miraculous scene of the boundless river of stars, the marks left by the ancient sages flickered and vanished. However, after a while, the sect disciples on the 10,000 warships shot out like arrows. They gave off lights of various colors, showing fervent gazes as they flew towards the thrones in the starry heavens. In that instant, close to 100,000 cultivators charged out at the same time. The vast scene was indescribable. Naturally, the starry heavens were not the true starry heavens. That was just a small world that the human sages carved out. However, that thousands of cultivators was not just an empty number. Figures continuously jumped out of the warships of the various sects in a ring, continuously increasing this number. Tens of thousands of cultivators flew towards a small world at the same time. The scene was so majestic that several of the older generation cultivators sighed. There were 1,000 thrones in the starry sky. Behind each throne was a number formed by light. It represented the rank of the person who owned the throne on the prodigy roll. At the highest point of the starry heavens, 10 thrones stood out. They each stood in a corner and gave off a dazzling light. One of the golden thrones was even more unique. Not only did it stand at the highest point of the starry heavens, but its golden light was also dazzling. 2 soaring golden dragons were carved on the armrests, giving off the tyrannical aura of a king. That was the supreme throne of the proud son of heaven ranking, which represented the first rank, empty. Bang! 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 Suddenly, loud bangs resounded in the air. Several of the cultivators at the very front seemed to crash into something just as they were about to reach the starry heavens. A huge rebound knocked them back, causing their faces to swell. Their quintessence scattered, and they fell to the ground as they cried out miserably. However, there were also many strong sect cultivators who directly dove in without any obstruction. Then, they excitedly headed for the thrones at the front. That should be a test. Without a certain level of strength, one would not be qualified to compete for a rank on the proud son of heaven ranking. Even if the proud son of heaven ranking was reshuffled, no one would be allowed to take advantage of the situation. The other true inheritors on the deck of the Haotian sect's warship had already gone ahead. Only Shao Chen and Shui Lingling had not set off yet. Shui Lingling glanced at the incredibly chaotic starry heavens. Then, she said softly, "Junior brother Shao Chen, I will go first now. Let's meet at the highest point of the starry heavens." The profound sun bird on Shui Lingling's shoulder cried out sharply and turned into a clump of fiery light. Then, it quickly flew towards the starry heavens with Shui Lingling on its back. Shao Chen looked at the cultivators filling the sky. They all had excited expressions as they struggled to reach their destination. Lofty aspirations surged in his heart. Being born in this great age was the happiness of all cultivators. Chapter 802. Elder Han, Shao Chen is going as well. Han Qinghe stopped Shao Chen and said, "Don't be in a rush to leave. There are some things that cannot be said in front of others. Now, you can finally say them. The sect master told me to pass a message to you." Shao Chen stopped walking, feeling somewhat suspicious. "The Haotian emperor, whom I have never met before, has something to say to me." Han Qinghe said sullenly, "The 3 holy masters should know about your martial spirit. However, due to certain reasons, even if they are not willing to see the descendants of the Qing emperor rise up, they will not do anything too excessive to you. However, it is hard to say for those sovereign noble clans. Back then, when the Qing emperor was in charge of the Bushan Palace, he was too domineering. Some of the sovereign noble clans were not convinced, so he destroyed 3 or 4 of them. Aside from the Ying clan, all the sovereign noble clans detest the Qing emperor. If they know that you possess the Blue Dragon martial spirit, they will definitely make a move on you after this battle." Shao Chen felt slightly stunned. He had not expected there to be such a secret. Back then, the Azure Emperor could even destroy a sovereign noble clan. Exactly how strong was the strongest sovereign martial emperor of the Kunlun realm during the ancient era? Han Qinghe continued, "Although the dragon subduing slash has not appeared for tens of thousands of years, and many people have forgotten about it, those old fellows of the sovereign noble clans will definitely not forget about it. Hence, the sect master instructed you not to use the dragon subduing slash in this sage war." Shao Chen smiled. However, there was no shock or fear in his eyes. Instead, there was a sharpness and rage. He said, Shaochen appreciates the Haotian Emperor's kind intentions. However, there are some things that will come. When Han Qinghe saw the situation, he said anxiously, Shaochen, don't be rash. You still have a long way to go. Shaochen stretched out his hand, and the lunar shadow saber appeared in his palm. His lips curled up into a smile as he said, Future. Why should I deceive myself and others? I can't avoid it unless I cripple my martial spirit once more. I will never be able to avoid it. Running away is never the way to solve problems. I've been suppressing this anger in my heart for 5 years. 5 years ago, my father chased me out of the house. Now that I think about it, it was laughable. The reason was because I had awakened the blue dragon martial soul. Just because of a martial spirit, a father chased his beloved son out. Who can understand his pain? I can't tell anyone about the anger in my heart, and who can understand it? Who exactly did the Dragon's Gate's Qing Emperor offend? 50,000 years later, my Shao clan is still carrying such a heavy mountain, treading on thin ice. Since everyone in the world is afraid of the birth of the blue dragon, then today, I will declare in front of everyone in the world that there are not just 3 holy lands in the world. My blue dragon martial spirit is not something that cannot be seen. Right and wrong, gratitude and grudges were settled. Let all the gratitude and grudges of the past come to an end today. I've had enough. I've had enough. Since people will find out sooner or later, there is no need to care so much. Even if I die sooner or later, I will still die. Since that is the case, I should at least control my life and death in my own hands. I have accumulated resentment for 5 years, but I can't return to my home. I can't vent my anger. I've already waited for 5 years and advanced to peak unrivaled half-sage. If I still can't vent this anger, will I have to wait until I become a sovereign martial emperor before I can do what I want? How long will I have to wait? Will I have to endure this anger for another 100 years? That is definitely not me, Shaochen. Definitely not. Let me be willful for once, let me settle my grudges and be myself. I am the descendant of the Dragon's Gate's Qing Emperor. I am Shaochen. My apologies, Haotian Emperor. Electric light surged under Shaochen's feet. With one step, he traversed 5 kilometers, instantly surpassing a large group of people. In an instant, he tore through the sky like a bolt of lightning, leaving many cultivators behind him. Boom! A figure landed on the deck, and a strong emperor's might spread out. This startled Han Qinghe. When he turned his head back to look, he saw that it was the Haotian Emperor personally arriving. Sect Master, why are you here yourself? The Haotian Emperor smiled faintly and said, Since I have nothing to do, I came to take a look. This fellow really exceeded my expectations. He probably exceeded those 3's expectations as well. As Han Qinghe watched Shaochen move further away, he asked, Is that a good thing or a bad thing for him? The Haotian Emperor revealed a contemplative gaze. Then, he said, Sometimes, it is impossible to proceed according to common sense. Perhaps one can really do something unexpected. Han Qinghe felt suspicious. He asked, Sect Master, what are you trying to say? The Haotian Emperor smiled faintly and said, This Shaochen is not as simple as you think. The Dragon's Gate's Qing Emperor set up 50,000 years ago. How could he not have a backup plan? If he did not have a backup plan, the enemies he once offended would have killed all of his descendants long ago. Shaochen is trying to cut off all means of retreat, forcing out the backup plan that the Qing Emperor set up. He does not want it to remain unclear. With his sharpness, he is destined not to be someone who can be easily manipulated. If he can really prove himself, I don't mind making a bet in advance. The Haotian Emperor revealed a determined expression as he muttered to himself. Without any obstructions, Shaochen cleared the first floor's test and arrived at the small world. Starlight dotted the surroundings, and it was dark. It was like he was really in the starry heavens. All sorts of chaotic fighting sounds rang out. There were at least 100 cultivators fighting around each sovereign. Saber lights and sword images filled the air, and blood flew everywhere. Occasionally, someone died under someone else's saber. However, this place was rather strange. After someone died, they did not truly die. Instead, they appeared outside the starry heavens. These people were unharmed, but they could no longer enter the small world of the starry heavens, losing the right to continue fighting for the proud son of heaven ranking. Amidst the chaos, it was hard to avoid accidental injuries. As Xiaochen walked, he ran into several cultivators flying at him. If he could dodge, he would. If he could not, Xiaochen directly punched. With a surge of force, he sent a cultivator attacking him flying out of the starry heavens with one punch. After sending out 100 people, Xiaochen's horrifying strength finally turned the area within 1 kilometer of him into a pure land. No one dared to barge in. Xiaochen shifted his gaze upwards, looking at the 10 sovereigns at the very top of the starry heavens. The surrounding bustling scene and the sovereigns within easy reach were not his target. The cultivators of the 9 ranks of the great clans and the sovereign noble clans fought for the 10th to 2nd thrones. The battles there were more than 10 times more intense than the ones below. However, the group of people surrounding the golden throne at the very top of the starry heavens remained silent as they cautiously looked at each other. The Phoenix's Passion Palace's Nuanmuyun, the Divine Martial Gates Feng Wuji, the White Emperor City's Shao Hoju, the Thunder and Lightning Palaces in Juanxi, the Yen clan's Yen Shirsi, and the mysterious swordsman Duan Yi, who had recently risen up. The 5 of them all feared each other, sizing each other up. However, no one dared to act rashly lest they become a common target for the others. The first golden throne of the proud son of heaven ranking held a fatal attraction for some people. No matter how intense the competition was, they would do their best to fight for it. A brilliant light flashed in Xiaochen's eyes. Electric light flashed under his feet as he executed Thunder Dragon steps at full power. Instantly, he crossed the starry heavens and arrived at the highest point. Then, he descended from the sky and slowly headed for the golden throne. Compared to the other 9, the number of people fighting for this throne was pitifully few. However, the intensity of the competition and the quality of the contenders was the highest. Without exception, these 6 experts were all demonic geniuses who comprehended wills. 3 of them were even legendary existences in the Tianwu domain. Their radiance and holy might deterred others from getting close. The first rank of the proud son of heaven ranking was not just an empty title. The luck of the ancient sages would land on it. The bountiful rewards of the Bushan Palace also tempted everyone. White Emperor City's Shao Hoju held a sword in his hand. His gaze was like lightning, seemingly piercing through the sky. As he stared at the golden throne, he displayed absolute confidence. Before the reshuffle, Shao Hoju already held the first rank. Now that the reshuffle was over, he did not intend to give up the first rank. However, the intensity of the competition this time far surpassed Shao Ho's expectations. Not only did his 2 old rivals from the Holy Lands target the first rank as well. The sovereign noble clans Yen Shirsi, the lower realms Lux's mysterious swordsman Duan Yi, and in Juanxi, who just fought Feng Wuji to a draw. None of them were minor characters. No one dares to sit. In that case, I, Yen Shirsi, want this throne. Yen Shirsi smiled faintly and moved his feet, preparing to land on the throne. Boom! Just as Yen Shirsi moved his feet, the other 5 instantly drew their weapons. A strong aura, accompanied by the light of their wills, swept out. The true dragon lightning whip in Juanxi's hand, the scarlet blood spear in Feng Wuji's hand, and the heavenly phoenix sword in Nuanmuyun's hand were all subdivine weapons. The instant they were drawn, a melodious hum resounded in the air, lingering for a long time. Shao Hoju remained as unmoving as a mountain. However, the azure ring on his index finger started to flicker with light, indicating that he was ready to make a move at any moment. Only the mysterious swordsman Duan Yi revealed a faint smile in the depths of his eyes, appearing the most calm. Under the pressure of the 5 experts' auras, undercurrents surged in the condensed air. Winds blew continuously. At this moment, all they needed was a spark to kick off a huge battle. Below the starry heavens, the experts vying for the other 9 thrones felt the horrifying auras merging together. Their expressions changed involuntarily. Due to the agreement, the other geniuses of the 4 sovereign clans could not compete for the golden throne. The other geniuses wanted to, but they could not, fearing that they would lose sight of others. Due to various reasons, these geniuses could not compete for the first rank. However, that did not mean that they did not yearn for it. Yen Shirsi gently withdrew his foot. His face, which was radiant with sunlight, cracked a smile as he said, "I was just joking. Don't be so serious. Brother Xiaoho, I see that your eyes are the biggest. How about you take the first rank?" Xiao Hoju smiled coldly in his heart, but his expression did not change. He said, "Yen Shirsi, why the need to put on an act? Since you want to compete, I do not mind letting you go first." No one was a fool. The first person to fly to the throne would definitely be attacked by the others at the same time, becoming cannon fodder immediately. Furthermore, one had to sit on the throne for 10 seconds before they could truly obtain it. How could it be that simple? Everyone here was an outstanding genius. However, they were not arrogant enough to think that they could defeat everyone else by themselves. They had to take advantage of the chaos. Chapter 803. And Juanshi toyed with the 9-segment True Dragon Lightning Whip in his hand as it flickered with crackling electricity. The light of the Will of Thunder scattered indistinctly as it resisted the holy might of the 3 holy masters. When Juanshi saw that golden throne, a fervent look flashed in his eyes. He wanted to move, but he resisted in the end. The atmosphere at the scene once again fell into a strange silence. No one dared to take a step recklessly. Just at this moment, a resplendent purple electric light suddenly lit up at the highest point of the starry heavens. That light was very dazzling and piercing. The electric light flashed for an instant before vanishing in an instant. If not for the stinging sensation in their eyes, they might even doubt the existence of this electric light. The 6 squinted and looked up. Their expressions changed at the same time. At some point in time, a white figure had appeared on the back of the golden throne. This person had delicate facial features and a cold expression. His white robes were pure and untainted by dust. He held a long saber in his right hand as he swept his gaze over the 6 with a calm gaze. White-robed bladesman, Xiao Chen. In that instant, the atmosphere of the place filled with undercurrents surged. The gazes of Nguyen Muyun, Feng Wuji, and Juanshi, and Yen Shirsi all turned sharp. A strong wind blew, and thunderclouds spread out. The cries of the vermilion bird resounded in the starry heavens. The low roar of the black tortoise surged like a tsunami. The roar of the white tiger caused the winds and clouds to change. Xiao Chen's appearance ignited the undercurrents that had been brewing for a long time. Thunder Dragon's Rage. And Juanshi's True Dragon Lightning Whip turned into a berserk lightning dragon. The light of the Will of Thunder gathered as it lashed at Xiao Chen. It was like Juanshi was holding a dragon in his hand. One finger breaking the heavens. A murderous intent surged in Xiao Hoju's eyes as he ferociously pointed at Xiao Chen. The ring on his index finger flickered with a dazzling light, and a huge jade-green finger tore through the air, creating ripples. It seemed like it really pierced through the heavens as it ruthlessly pressed down on Xiao Chen. Feng Wuji grasped the scarlet blood spear with one hand and gently spun it. The spear, as red as blood, spun rapidly, and the sound of a horrifying sea rose. A vast sea appeared behind Feng Wuji. The surging sea soared as the scarlet blood spear spun, forming a horrifying sea tornado. Suddenly, Feng Wuji pulled back his hand, and the scarlet blood spear stopped spinning. The sound of the waves stopped. However, the tip of the spear pointed at Xiao Chen, who was standing on the back of the throne. An immeasurably tall sea tornado descended from the sky, sweeping towards Xiao Chen. Nguyen Muyun's expression turned grave, and a beam of fiery light shot up from the heavenly phoenix sword. With a casual wave, it turned into a vermilion bird in the blink of an eye and charged at Xiao Chen. Nguyen Muyun's expression turned grave, and a fiery light soared into the sky from the heavenly phoenix sword. With a casual wave, it turned into a vermilion bird and charged at Xiao Chen. The smile on Yan Shixi's face was still as bright as ever. However, a murderous intent surged in the depths of his eyes. The mysterious swordsman Duan Yi, who had been in the limelight recently, saw Xiao Chen again. However, he had not expected to see him here. Duan Yi's lips curled up into a smile as he casually sent out a pitch-black sword light. The mysterious swordsman Duan Yi, who had been in the limelight recently, saw Xiao Chen again. However, he had not expected to see him here. Duan Yi smiled and casually sent out a pitch-black sword light. The horrifying scene at the highest point of the starry heavens immediately attracted the attention of many people. The elders and disciples of the various sects on the 10,000 warships did not even blink. Unexpectedly, it was the white-robed bladesman, Xiao Chen, whom no one expected. Xiao Chen had always given the impression of being low-key, never taking the initiative to cause trouble. Why did he suddenly take the initiative to fight for the first rank? This fellow is really crazy. He is facing 6 absolute geniuses with wills at the same time. With such concentrated attacks, even the sons of the 3 holy masters would not be able to block them. After defeating Bai Wuxue, his confidence probably swelled a little too much. The Tianwu domain is not as simple as he thinks it is. The radiance of wills and the holy might of the holy beast martial spirit are already enough to suppress him to the point where he cannot move. How can he possibly retaliate? The shocking scene of the 6 experts attacking at the same time startled some of the older generation experts. When they saw Xiao Chen's actions, they felt like he was committing suicide. Seated on the throne, Xiao Chen's expression was calm as he watched the heaven-ranked martial techniques flying over from all directions, as well as the invisible will and holy might surging over. Xiao Chen grasped his saber hilt with his right hand and drew the lunar shadow saber. The purple talisman in his sea of consciousness flew out of his forehead and turned into a beam of light soaring into the sky before quickly scattering. Thousands of bolts of pure purple lightning formed from the immortal will of thunder descended from the sky. As they moved, they looked like thousands of lightning flood dragons roaring ferociously from a distance. Boundless lightning tribulation. Xiao Chen shouted and turned into the emotionless heavenly Tao. He waved his hand, and the thousands of lightning flood dragons charged down. Thunder roared and lightning flashed in the sky. Dark clouds covered the sky. The thousands of lightning flood dragons looked like a vast army charging at the heaven-ranked martial techniques that the 6 people sent out. Earth-shattering explosions rang out continuously in the starry sky, causing the entire small starry sky realm to shake violently. The cultivators fighting for the other thrones all froze. They felt a strange horror in their hearts as they stared at the highest point of the starry heavens in shock. All sorts of shock waves stirred up that place, turning it into chaos. There were the sounds of surging waves, the cries of divine birds blazing with fiery light, and the boundless lightning flood dragons tearing through the sky. There was a loud rumble, and an energy ripple swept out from that world. The other hundreds of thrones in the starry sky were all swept away. Several of the cultivators who just sat on the thrones were the most unlucky. They vomited a mouthful of blood and bounced off their thrones. This could be said to be an undeserved calamity. Xiao Hoju's jade-like fingers shattered. And Juanshi's berserk lightning dragon turned back into the true dragon whip. Nguan Muyan's flaming divine bird turned into a fiery light and vanished. Yan Shixi's 9-sun sword chi vanished like smoke. The pitch-black sword chi that Duan Yi casually sent out immediately turned into ashes. Xiao Chen's 1,000 lightning flood dragons turned into strands of wandering electric light, crackling softly in the air. The expressions of the other 6 people were somewhat startled. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen broke the martial techniques that the 6 of them executed together with one move. Although the 6 of them had held back, those were still the fatal strikes of 6 people. If it were any of them, they would not have been able to achieve such a result. Whoosh! The strands of electricity in the air quickly gathered together, and an immortal aura spread out. A purple wool talisman reformed above Xiao Chen's head. It imitated the divine lightning and wrote immortality. This was the light of Xiao Chen's undefeatable will. And Juanshi revealed an expression of understanding. He exclaimed with some shock. He perfectly merged his will with his martial technique. A perfect fusion. He actually managed to do it. Ignoring the shock on these people's faces, Xiao Chen stood on the back of the throne and gently leaped off. Then, he leaned back and sat firmly on the golden throne. In that instant, boundless light soared up from the back of the throne, illuminating the starry heavens. A vast and unparalleled tyrannical aura of kingship surged out like a vast ocean. The 6 powerful demonic geniuses could not help taking a step back. What kind of saber was a saber? An inextinguishable hot-bloodedness, an undefeatable saber? What kind of sword was a sword? A sword that dreamt endlessly and never broke? Since ancient times, beauties had always loved heroes. Outstanding talents competed with each other for the top. When the winds and clouds changed, chaos arose. The dream of 10,000 years would be fulfilled today. Who was not an outstanding talent? Who was not an outstanding talent? Regardless of the next life, it only mattered now. They would stand at the peak and fight for the first rank. The instant the thousands of beams of light illuminated the starry heavens, the entire sky turned into a golden ocean. The light was resplendent, dazzling everyone. The 900-odd contenders for the thrones below all froze. They could not help casting their gazes over. The various sect elders and disciples on the surrounding warships all showed expressions of incredulity. Xiao Chen actually sat on the throne. He did not even bother to hide it before the 6 powerful demonic geniuses, casually sitting on it. He is really too bold. He sat on it for 10 seconds. How can he do that? At this moment, everyone focused their attention on the white-clad man sitting on the golden throne at the highest point of the starry heavens. You are seeking death. Xiao Hoju was the first to lose it. He had stood at the top of the proud son of heaven ranking for many years. How could he tolerate a latecomer trampling on his head? Heaven pointing drawing earth. He pointed out with a finger, and the ring on his index finger emitted a circle of blue light, fixing the golden throne in the air. It was as if he had really drawn a world. Then, an ancient stone finger descended from the sky. The index finger was plain, but mysterious talisman scripts were carved on it. Unexpectedly, a strand of emperor's might spread out. Good. On the White Emperor City's Emperor-grade warship, the Grandmaster-level elder leading the White Emperor City group could not help but clap his hands and cheer. He smiled and said, "This finger contains the essence of the White Emperor's heavenly might finger. It even emits Emperor's might. Even if that Xiao Chen stood, he might not be able to block it." The other old men on the warship's bow also appeared rather relaxed. Remaining on the throne for 10 seconds was not that simple. Most people would wait for the others to exhaust themselves before sitting on the throne. However, Xiao Chen sat on the throne in front of the 6 powerful demonic geniuses in their peak states. He had no intention of seeking death. This Grandmaster-level elder had just finished saying, "Good," when a small hole appeared in the starry heavens. A strand of divine light entered Xiao Chen's body. In that instant, everyone could clearly feel Xiao Chen's aura soaring endlessly from the throne. It felt like everything in the world wanted to worship him. Myriad heaven divine fist, deities descending, tenfold combat prowess, break. Xiao Chen did not move from the throne. Instead, he punched at the stone finger descending from the sky. Xiao Chen's tenfold combat prowess, which was now a peak half-sage, could even shake the sky. Its might was horrifying. Chapter 804. Bang! Before the old men's horrified gazes, Xiao Chen's punch shattered the stone finger, which contained a trace of Emperor's might. The ring covering the sky also instantly shattered. How can this be? The group of old men were all stunned. Blood leaked out of a corner of Xiao Hoju's lips as he moved back 100 meters. His expression was one of extreme disbelief. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen broke his superior grade heaven-ranked martial technique. Paw! Right after the stone finger shattered, Anjuanshi's 9-segment True Dragon Lightning Whip whipped at Xiao Chen, creating long arcs of electricity that looked like it would split the sky in half. And Juanshi's timing was very precise, not giving Xiao Chen any time to catch his breath or dodge. He wanted to pull out the throne from Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's gaze sank. Just as the whip made of true dragon bones was about to strike him, he stretched out his hand and grabbed it. Before Juanshi's shocked gaze, Xiao Chen caught the lightning whip in his hand. Immediately, a vast lightning-attributed quintessence surged out of the lightning whip and into Xiao Chen's body. The defenses in Xiao Chen's body isolated some of the lightning-attributed quintessence. However, a large portion of it still surged through his meridians and internal organs. And Juanshi's face lit up in joy. He was very clear on how vast his lightning-attributed quintessence was. If Xiao Chen grabbed it like this, he would suffer severe internal injuries in less than 3 seconds. Hu Qi! However, before Juanshi could even smile, a horrifying force surged out from the other side of the whip. That was pure physical strength, unparalleled. Before Juanshi could react, he was pulled into the air by Xiao Chen. His body spun around in the air, and when Xiao Chen let go, he shot down like a cannonball. Boom! 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 Along the way, Xiao Chen crashed into some unlucky cultivators. The huge force severely injured these cultivators, sending them out of this small world. Nguan Muyun and the others became completely anxious after Xiao Chen blocked the attacks of 2 powerful demonic geniuses. Could it be that Xiao Chen could really sit on it for 10 seconds? The cultivators on the surrounding warships could not help but hold their breaths, not daring to look away. Normally, 10 seconds would pass in a few breaths. However, it felt extremely long now. Nguan Muyun, Feng Wuji, and Yan Shirsi shouted coldly and charged at Xiao Chen, trying to force him to stand up. Xiao Chen did not panic. Since he had already decided to sit here, he naturally had a plan in mind. He might not be a match for 6 powerful demonic geniuses at the same time. Perhaps he was not a match for 6 powerful demonic geniuses at the same time. Xiao Chen leaned back and flew back 100 meters, carrying the golden throne with him. Then, he pointed his saber at the sky, and the purple talisman above his head soared into the sky. The divine lightning tribulation descended, and 3 bolts of golden lightning turned into lightning flood dragons descending from the sky, charging at Nguan Muyun, Feng Wuji, and Yan Shirsi. As for the mysterious swordsman Duan Yi, he had already given up on the golden throne at some point in time and was flying towards the 10th ranked throne. The golden lightning flood dragons were formed by Xiao Chen's immortal will of thunder. The expressions of Nguan Muyun and the others changed slightly. This killing move, which completely merged a will and a martial technique, could not be underestimated. The 3 had no choice but to stop and execute their best moves to block Xiao Chen's strongest killing move of the lightning tribulation saber technique. Thousands of beams of light flickered behind the golden throne. Then, Xiao Chen gently floated up with the throne. As the light shone, he flew another 1 kilometer. After the 3 blocked Xiao Chen's divine lightning tribulation, they charged at Xiao Chen again. However, they had already lost most of their sharpness. Xiao Chen sat on the throne and brandished his saber, calmly blocking the killing moves of the 3. Bang! 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 The throne flew everywhere in the starry heavens. Everywhere it passed, it gave off a bright light. The other cultivators dodged, not daring to clash with its sharpness. Most of the 10 seconds had passed. All sorts of mysterious phenomena appeared around the throne. However, Xiao Chen remained as unmoving as a mountain. To everyone's surprise, he sat firmly on the throne. Xiao Hoju caught up and said sullenly, "The 10 seconds are almost up. We can't wait any longer. Let's use the holy beast's will to force him out." A light flashed on Xiao Hoju's forehead as he brought out the form of his will. It was a snow-white white tiger that gave off an unparalleled holy might. With a thought, a fiery light flashed on Nguan Muyun's forehead. The will of fire turned into a vermilion bird. It gave a sharp cry and spread its wings. Feng Wuji pointed with his spear, and the black tortoise formed from the will of light let out a deep cry. Then, it also surged out with an unparalleled holy might. The 3 holy scions summoned out the form of their wills at the same time. The horrifying holy might merged together, encasing the entire small world. The vermilion bird, black tortoise, and white tiger were legendary holy beasts. At this moment, all of them appeared at the same time. Such a scene was very shocking. The holy beast's will of the three holy masters has not appeared for 1,000 years already. A holy beast. This is a creature that only appears in myths. Only the most talented people in the three holy lands are able to condense the will of a holy beast into a form. Just the holy might is already hard to block. Now, there is the might of the will. In the end, this white-robed bladesman is too ambitious. He wants to take the first rank. Soft discussions could be heard in the surroundings. The 10 seconds were getting closer and closer. When the final second arrived, the three holy beasts formed from the will of the three holy beasts arrived before Xiao Chen. The brilliant holy might made it impossible for him to dodge. However, Xiao Chen did not even think of dodging. The blue dragon of the east was the leader of the holy beasts. Back then, the Qing emperor was peerless. He swept through the world, unrivaled. He ruled the Tianwu domain's human race. When the demonic calamity arrived, even the other races had to submit to him. He was the uncrowned king of the Kunlun realm's post-ancient era, the strongest sovereign martial emperor. Back then, the three holy masters were not even qualified to compare to the blue dragon. 50,000 years later, they actually dared to work together to pressure Xiao Chen. They were truly ignorant. The little azure dragon in Xiao Chen's dantian suddenly let out a resounding dragon roar, shaking the surroundings. Surging holy might spread out, causing mountains to crumble and seas to surge out. At this moment, Xiao Chen completely unleashed the king's holy might of the blue dragon martial spirit before everyone in the world without holding anything back. The anger that Xiao Chen had held back for 5 years was vented with this roar. A huge dragon-shaped image soared up from behind the throne. Xiao Chen, who sat on the throne, showed no expression. The moment the vast holy might of the blue dragon appeared, it blocked the combined holy might of the three holy masters. The two auras clashed. A melodious sound resounded in the starry heavens, like the sound of the sky shattering. The holy might of Nuan Muyun, Feng Wuji, and Xiao Hoju vanished without a trace before the holy might of the blue dragon. Only the azure-colored dragon might remained in the starry heavens. The manifestation of the three holy scions' wills had lost its holy might and was no different from an ordinary manifestation of their wills. The surroundings fell silent. When everyone felt the vast holy might of the blue dragon in that small world, they were all stupefied. The invincible sage might of the legendary three holy princes had actually been broken by someone. Thousands of arcs of electricity fell and gathered back into the purple talisman. Xiao Chen infused the will of the blue dragon into it. Then, he stretched out his hand, and the talisman swept out. Ka Xie! Ka Xie! A loud cracking sound resounded. Cracks appeared on the divine vermilion bird, the holy beast white tiger, and the auspicious black tortoise. Then, they instantly turned into motes of light and entered the foreheads of the three. The three paled, and blood leaked out of the corners of their lips. As they looked at Xiao Chen on the throne, intense shock appeared in their eyes. The three of them were holy scions. In the eyes of the world, they were unreachable, legends that would never fall. However, the strongest holy might of the three's combined will was still easily broken by Xiao Chen. Even after 50,000 years, the blue dragon's holy might could not be erased. The blue dragon was the leader of the four holy masters. This was indisputable. The countdown of 10 seconds ended. The thousands of golden beams of light radiating from the throne suddenly merged together, forming a huge pillar of light. This pillar of light encased Xiao Chen on the throne. The blue dragon image behind Xiao Chen had not scattered yet. Instead, it solidified under the cover of the beam of light, not moving at all. Yan Shirsi, the son of the three holy masters, and Juanxi. Before they could accept this, Xiao Chen eventually obtained the first rank of the proud Son of Heaven ranking. The thousands of beams of light merged as the throne carried Xiao Chen higher and higher. The starry sky in the small world continued to rise as the throne rose. On the 10,000 warships in the surroundings, be it the elders of the various sects or the disciples who came to watch, they all raised their heads and looked at that unique throne. When Shaochen reached the highest point, he suddenly stood up and leaped down from the pillar of light. The vast blue dragon's holy might still lingered. Everywhere it passed, everyone moved aside. When they felt the holy might of the blue dragon martial spirit again, several people finally startled awake. When they thought of that legendary name, they all turned pale with fright. That is the blue dragon martial spirit. After disappearing for 50,000 years, it unexpectedly reappeared today. It really is the blue dragon martial spirit. The glory of 50,000 years ago actually reappeared. No wonder it could defeat the holy beast will of the three holy masters' son. Back then, the Dragon's Gate's Qing Emperor swept through the place, pushing the human race to the peak of the post-ancient era. He suppressed the deity race, fiend race, ghost race, and corpse race. From the last rank of the proud son of heaven ranking to the first rank of prime, this Shaochen really has the shadow of the Qing Emperor from back then. However, the Dragon's Gate no longer exists. Now that this Shaochen exposed his martial spirit, he will probably be in big trouble. All sorts of discussions resounded like a tsunami. The reappearance of the blue dragon martial spirit was definitely big news that would shake up the entire Tianwu realm. That was not right. It was news that would shake up the entire Kunlun realm. Back then, that name was like a nightmare to many people and many factions. The sovereign noble clans that refused to be disciplined were casually destroyed by him. Chapter 805. The god race, which had developed to its peak, had been ruthlessly suppressed by him just as they were about to show their strength. It was not until 50,000 years after his death that they returned to their former peak. The 18 demon monarchs of the deep abyss demonic world had come repeatedly, but Shaochen had blocked them all by himself. The Dragon's Gate Qing Emperor had too many enemies. Furthermore, all of them were powerful characters. Any one of them could easily crush the current Shaochen. Exposing his identity at this time was extremely disadvantageous to him. Sure enough, the crowd's guesses immediately became reality. Shaochen had just flown out of that small world when the three Grandmaster-level martial sages leading the sovereign noble clans, the Jiang clan, the Lin clan, and the Yen clan, soared into the air. The rings of heavenly sage laws behind Shaochen gave off a multicolored light that spread out for 500 kilometers, covering the sky and covering the sun. In the blink of an eye, Shaochen crossed the distance of 10 kilometers. Boom boom boom. The vast aura of a Grandmaster-level martial sage surged out like a solid tsunami. Some of the lower-ranked warships could not endure it and shattered. When the other cultivators saw this scene, they all gasped in surprise. The sovereign noble clans were too generous. Their decisiveness in making their move left everyone flabbergasted. Three Grandmaster-level martial sages attacked together, directly attacking a half-sage. Any one of them could easily crush Shaochen with a flick of their fingers. With the three of them working together, how could Shaochen possibly survive? On the Haotian sect's warship, the Haotian Emperor glanced at the three holy masters in the sky, who did not do anything, and gently flicked his finger 3 times. Bang, bang, bang. The three Grandmaster-level martial sages all vomited a mouthful of blood and went flying back. Before an incomprehensible force, the high-quality sage-grade secret treasures on them shattered into pieces. The Grandmaster-level martial sages of the Jiang clan, Lin clan, and Yen clan landed on their warships with pale complexions. The heavenly sage laws behind them shattered with a ka-si-eth sound. The finger that the Haotian Emperor had imbued into them exploded again, causing the entire ship to shake violently. The other martial artists on the deck were all sent flying. Attack! Fire the Imperial magic cannons. Even if I die, I will not allow another Qing Emperor to appear in this world. The three Grandmaster-level martial sages showed horror on their faces. However, they did not show much surprise in their eyes. Without exception, they all appeared extremely determined. An earth-shattering battle suddenly erupted outside the small world. With just a single exchange of blows, it affected the tens of thousands of warships. Holy shit! When did the Haotian Emperor come here? Let's go. Let's go. If we get caught in the aftermath, we won't be able to survive even if we have 9 lives. All the battleships started moving at their fastest speeds as they quickly retreated, afraid of getting caught up in the battle that was about to happen. Their warships weren't Emperor class. Even if they were Emperor class, they wouldn't be able to withstand a casual blow from Emperor Wu. The Haotian Emperor sneered. Stubborn fool. Without the blue-robed emperor, how could an Emperor-class warship unleash its full power? The Haotian Emperor stretched out his hand and thrust it forward. 64 rings of golden heavenly laws appeared behind him. Countless stars spun around each ring of golden heavenly sage laws. A blazing sun appeared in the center of the rings of golden heavenly laws, giving off a bright light. The heavenly laws behind him seemed to materialize the starry heavens of the universe. A gargantuan hand appeared above the 3 Emperor-class warships, covering the starry heavens and the universe. Then, it gently descended and sent the 3 Emperor-class warships flying. Brother Haotian, that's enough. A voice rang out in the air. A middle-aged man in red vermilion bird robes smiled faintly as he appeared on the Haotian sect's king-class warship. Han Qinghe, who was at the side, raised his eyebrows slightly and bowed. Greetings, Vermilion Bird Holy Lord. The person who arrived was actually the current palace master of the Phoenix's Passion Palace. The Vermilion Bird Holy Lord's expression did not change much. He glanced at Xiao Chen, who was slowly rushing over. Somewhat speechless, he said, I'll go and negotiate with the sovereign noble clans. This fellow is really unexpected. He is extraordinarily courageous. The Haotian Emperor smiled and said, I don't think he is courageous or not. As he said, what will come will come. Can he avoid it? The Dragon's Gate's Qing Emperor's name will make it impossible for him to hide forever. When the Vermilion Bird Holy Lord heard the words, Dragon's Gate's Qing Emperor, he frowned slightly and said, it has already been 50,000 years. What is the point of mentioning that name? The Tianwu domain only needs 3 holy lands. However, the Haotian Emperor said seriously, however, the human race needs a leader. The Vermilion Bird Holy Lord's lips curled up as he said, him. Even the Thunder King, who was even more talented than him 5,000 years ago, failed to survive. Do you think he can? After taking a trip to the gates of hell, Xiao Chen slowly flew towards the Haotian sect's warship. Aside from Han Qinghe and the Haotian Emperor, Xiao Chen also saw a blurry clump of light that seemed to be talking to the Haotian Emperor. He also saw a blurry ball of light, which seemed to be talking to the Clear Sky Emperor. When he landed on the deck, the blurry ball of light disappeared. Suppressing the doubts in his heart, Xiao Chen performed a cup-fist salute to the Haotian Emperor who had saved his life. He bowed and said, Many thanks, Emperor, for saving my life. The Haotian Emperor raised his hand to indicate that it was not a big deal. He said softly, This is all I can help you with. You will still have to rely on yourself for the rest. Advance to Martial Sage as soon as possible. Xiao Chen nodded. Right now, the most important thing was to advance to Martial Sage as soon as possible. Otherwise, if he ran into such a strong Martial Sage, he would not be able to protect himself. What you saw earlier was the Phoenix's Passion Palace's Vermilion Bird Holy Lord. He is also the person in charge of the Bushan Palace. You don't have to worry about the matters of the 3 Holy Masters' land. In the future, just be careful of the people of the sovereign noble clans. I'll be leaving first. Finally, congratulations on obtaining the first rank of the Proud Son of Heaven ranking. After saying that, the Haotian Emperor did not linger. He opened a spatial tunnel and entered it. The chaotic battle in the small world of the starry heavens continued. The competition for the remaining 9 spots in the top 10 became even more intense. Xiao Chen glanced at them and ignored them. Then, he entered his room and started resting. After some time, the door to Xiao Chen's room opened gently, and Shui Lingling walked in with a smile. When Xiao Chen saw the smile on Xiao Chen's face, he felt excited. He asked, First senior sister, you obtained a spot. I was lucky and managed to obtain the 9th rank. The competition this time was too intense. Shui Lingling smiled gently. After you left, the three holy masters' land and Yan Shixi's group started to fight for the other spots. That scene was indescribably chaotic. The two chatted casually for a while. In the end, Shui Lingling could not help asking about the blue dragon martial spirit. After all, this news was too shocking. It was simply unbelievable. Unexpectedly, her own junior brother was a descendant of the Qing Emperor, the strongest sovereign martial emperor of the human race during the ancient era. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. He was rather open-minded about this problem. He said softly, "First senior sister, just ask what you want to ask. I will definitely not hide too much." Shui Lingling was slightly stunned. She had not expected Xiao Chen to be so easy to talk to. After thinking for a while, she said, "Actually, there is nothing to ask. I am just curious. Why did you expose your martial spirit? It will bring you a lot of trouble." Trouble? A trace of bitterness appeared in Xiao Chen's eyes. He smiled and said, "If there was trouble, it would have come long ago. The moment I awakened the blue dragon martial spirit, many people already knew about it. Only I treated it as a secret." Shui Lingling entered deep thought. Then, she said, 10,000 years ago, after the Qing Emperor dealt with the last Tianwu Emperor, he died mysteriously, and the Dragon's Gate was completely destroyed. Actually, you don't have to overthink this. Just treat yourself as an ordinary person. The glory of the Qing Emperor should not be a pressure on you. After the two chatted for a while, the first elder, Han Qinghe, walked in with a smile on his face. He said, "The competition for the proud son of heaven ranking is already over. Aside from our Haotian sect, no other sect obtained 2 spots. No wonder he was smiling so happily. In the vast Tianwu domain, there were only 10 spots for the heavenly dew divine spring. The Haotian sect obtained 2 spots with just one of the 9 ranks of the great families. The Haotian sect even surpassed the sovereign noble clans and the 3 holy masters. However, luck played a major role in this. Of the 10 spots, the Haotian sect obtained 2. The 3 holy masters each obtained 1 spot. The Thunder and Lightning Palaces in Juanxi, by Wuxue, and the mysterious swordsman Duan Yi each obtained 1. When Xiao Chen heard Bai Wuxue's and Duan Yi's names from the first elder, he was stunned for a while. The appearance of these 2 names had indeed exceeded his expectations. Given Bai Wuxue's strength, it would be impossible for him to stand out among this group of powerful demonic geniuses. As for that mysterious swordsman Duan Yi, Xiao Chen could not figure him out. This person originally intended to fight for the first rank but gave up halfway. Furthermore, this person's gaze seemed somewhat familiar to Xiao Chen. However, he could not recall when he had seen this person in the Kunlun realm. The final 2 spots went to the sovereign noble clans Yan Shisan and Ning Qiong. The sovereign noble clans had come with great momentum and great prestige. Unexpectedly, they only obtained 2 spots. The sovereign noble clans could be said to be the most depressed faction in this trip. This was especially so after they learned that the blue dragon martial spirit had reappeared. When Xiao Chen counted the 10 spots, he discovered that he knew most of them or had met them once before. The excitement on Han Qinghe's face had not faded yet. He said, "Come, the 10 of you have to quickly gather and head for Kunlun Mountain." "So fast?" Shui Lingling exclaimed in shock. Han Qinghe nodded and said, "We have no choice but to be fast. The people of the other races have probably arrived long ago." After leaving the warship, Xiao Chen followed Han Qinghe to an emperor-grade warship. This was a warship that belonged to the Bushan Palace. The other 8 people had already arrived at the bow of the warship. They were either chatting idly or resting with their eyes closed. The moment Xiao Chen stepped onto the deck, the gazes of the other 8 people immediately focused on him. The gazes of the 3 holy masters were the most complicated. All along, the holy beast martial spirit had been unique. The martial spirits of other cultivators were no longer useful after they advanced to martial king. Only the holy might of the holy beast martial spirit could be passed down continuously. Even Emperor Wu still had great might. Now, there was one more person. Not only did this person possess a holy beast martial spirit, but his holy might far surpassed theirs. Chapter 806. Xiao Chen felt helpless. He greeted Ying Qiong and Yan Shisan, whom he was familiar with. Then, he stood at the side with Shui Lingling and started chatting. After a while, a tall cultivator wearing official robes walked out of the warship's hold. Based on his aura, he was actually the blue-robed emperor. Behind him were the elders of the various sections. Most of them had faint smiles on their faces. No matter what, as long as they could obtain a slot, their sects would have 100 more martial sages within 100 years. The elders of the various sects who managed to obtain a slot were in a rather good mood. The blue-robed emperor said sullenly, "I believe the elders of your sects have already explained where you will be going later. I will not repeat myself. I will only say one thing. Treasure this opportunity well. It was not easy for the Bushan Palace to obtain 10 slots for you. Do not forget this favor in the future." As the blue-robed emperor spoke, his gaze lingered on Yan Shisan and Ying Qiong for a long time. Clearly, the upper echelon of the Bushan Palace did not think well of the sovereign noble clans. They were clearly human factions, but they were not willing to work together. They did not care about the survival of the human race, only caring about their own interests. Furthermore, they were extraordinarily strong. Yan Shisan's stern face did not show any expression. Ying Qiong's expression did not change either. The two of them did not care about what the blue-robed emperor said. Kunlun Mountain was the center of the entire Kunlun realm. It was in the center of the profound domain and had existed for a long time since the immortal epoch. The Kunlun realm had 5 domains: the Fiend domain, the Ghost domain, the Deity domain, the Tianwu domain, and the Corpse domain. Each of the 5 domains was occupied by a race. There were 2 other domains, the Primal Chaos domain and the Profound domain. There was no need to explain the Primal Chaos domain. It was a land of chaos and evil, located at the borders of the Kunlun realm. The Profound domain was very different. It was in the center of the Kunlun realm and bordered all 5 domains. It had more resources and remnants than the other 5 domains combined. Almost all the elite factions and peak geniuses of the Kunlun realm had gathered here. The headquarters of the human race's sovereign noble clans were also here. It was not uncommon for the various clans to fight openly and covertly here. As long as one party was weak, the other clans would immediately occupy their territory. The Bushan Palace of the Sky Martial Domain, the Ghost Palace of the Ghost Domain, the Corpse God Palace of the Corpse Clan, the Thousand Deity Sect of the God Domain, and the Heavenly Demon Palace of the Demon Domain. These colossal existences like the Bushan Palace had stationed a large number of elite warriors in the mysterious domain. Aside from this, there were also ancient clans like the sovereign noble clans of the human race that had occupied this place for tens of thousands of years. The factions of the entire profound domain were very complicated and chaotic. The competition between the younger generation of the various clans was even more intense. It was not something the clans in their own domains could compare to. Half a month later, the Emperor-grade warship of Bushan Palace finally flew out of the vast Tianwu domain and reached the Profound domain. However, it was still a long way from Kunlun Mountain. The Emperor-grade warship of Bushan Palace pierced through the clouds. Many ancient cities appeared before everyone's eyes. Several of these cities had great accumulations. Formless dragon images could be seen floating above the cities. That was the king's chi. This proved that a sovereign martial emperor once appeared in the faction of this city. Even after hundreds of thousands of years, sovereign martial emperors still looked after their clans. If the dragon images were solid, it meant that the faction of that city still had a sovereign martial emperor protecting it. However, most of the dragon images were immaterial. Very few were solid dragon images. The number of Emperor Wu who could be conferred king in the Kunlun realm could be counted on one's fingers. At least, that was how it looked on the surface. Xiao Chen looked at the scenery below. After he found it somewhat boring, he returned to his room and took out the painting of Qing Emperor drawing the saber. Soon, knocking came from outside Xiao Chen's room. He put away the painting and opened the door. When Xiao Chen saw who it was, he was not surprised at all. Instead, he felt that it was too late, much later than he expected. "Come in, then." After closing the door, Xiao Chen invited Ying Qiong in. At the same time, he poured her a cup of tea. Ying Qiong was not in a rush to sit down. Instead, she looked around at Xiao Chen as if this was the first time she saw Xiao Chen. "I really wonder how many more secrets you have." Ying Qiong sighed somewhat helplessly before slowly sitting down. Xiao Chen gave the other party a deep look and asked, "I should be the one asking you that. Why is it that when the people of the 3 sovereign noble clans saw me, they wanted to kill me with a slap immediately? Only your Ying clan did not make a move." Ying Qiong picked up the teacup and took a sip. She smiled and said, "Qing Emperor had friends as well. When he was in charge of Bushan Palace, our Ying clan could be considered his ally. However, Qing Emperor died 10,000 years ago, and the Dragon's Gate no longer exists. Now, it is hard to say how many people in the Ying clan still adhere to the alliance from back then." Xiao Chen thought for a while before asking, "What connection does your Ying clan have to the great Qin nation's royal court in the Sky Dome realm?" Ying Qiong smiled faintly and said, "It can be considered a very important branch of our Ying clan. It is very mysterious, but I'm not sure about the details. That is a matter of the upper echelons, directly issued by the ancestor of our Ying clan." Xiao Chen felt excited. It looked like if he had time, he really should make a trip to the Sky Dome realm. Perhaps Ying Yu knew more than he imagined. However, there was something else that was more important right now. Xiao Chen asked calmly, "How are the 3 main ingredients for the breaking sage pill coming along?" Ying Qiong had prepared for this long ago. He said, "It is rather smooth. I already found 2 ingredients. I will definitely be able to find the remaining one within 2 months." 2 months was not a long time, it was much faster than Xiao Chen had expected. Xiao Chen said, "Once you are done, remember to inform me immediately. I can give you the other half of the core painting piece at any time." Right now, Xiao Chen was more anxious about advancing to Martial Sage than anyone else. Without advancing to Martial Sage, he would not feel safe at all. Ying Qiong nodded gently and changed the topic. "How much do you know about the Heavenly Dew Divine Spring? Have you ever wondered why cultivators who soak in the Heavenly Dew Divine Spring are guaranteed to advance to Martial Emperor within 100 years? Naturally, Xiao Chen had thought about this before. So, he shared his understanding. Those who can obtain the qualifications to soak in the Heavenly Dew Divine Spring are the elites of the various races. Even describing them as demonic geniuses would be underestimating their talent. Even without the Heavenly Dew Divine Spring, they have a high chance of advancing to Martial Emperor. The Heavenly Dew Divine Spring cleanses their marrow and blood, raising their already monstrous talent to another level. It would not be strange for them to advance to Martial Emperor earlier." Ying Qiong giggled and said, "Your guess is pretty good. However, this is not the most crucial point. Do you know what is suppressed under Kunlun Mountain?" Xiao Chen asked out of curiosity, "What is it?" "The Rock of Origin." The Rock of Origin was very mysterious. It was said to be the heart of the entire Kunlun realm. Be it the martial epic or the immortal epic, they were all born from it. Ying Qiong continued, "If the Rock of Origin is destroyed, the entire Kunlun realm will fall apart. In other words, whoever controls the Rock of Origin will be the true ruler of the Kunlun realm. The Deep Abyss demonic world has repeatedly invaded the Kunlun realm for tens of thousands of years. Their goal is to destroy Kunlun Mountain and obtain the Rock of Origin. However, right now, the Rock of Origin is sealed under Kunlun Mountain. The various races cannot control it, and they do not dare to rashly destroy the seal. Others do not know much about the wondrous uses of the Rock of Origin." When Xiao Chen heard this secret, his expression did not change much. This was something too distant. He asked, "What does the Rock of Origin have to do with the Heavenly Dew Divine Spring?" The heavenly dew divine spring is formed by the mist produced by the rock of origin. Now, do you know why cultivators who soak in the spring will definitely advance to martial emperor within 100 years? Ing Cheong said with a smile. If that was really the case, advancing to martial emperor within 100 years was indeed understandable. After all, the rock of origin had such a heaven-defying origin. It was completely understandable for a miracle to happen. The two chatted for a while more before saying their goodbyes. 5 days later, when Xiao Chen heard some startled cries coming from outside, he stopped practicing the painting of the Qing emperor drawing the saber and went to the bow deck. At the limits of his vision, Xiao Chen saw a row of vast mountain ranges. These mountain ranges rose and fell without end, looking like they split the entire profound domain in half. In reality, this was indeed the case. The Kunlun mountain range spanned tens of millions of kilometers. There were countless mountain peaks. Until now, no one had managed to completely explore this mountain range. There were many remnants and formations from the immortal epoch. Even some sovereign martial emperors did not dare to rashly enter. During the ancient era, people had even seen legendary immortal beasts. They were extremely mysterious. In the center of the mountain range was the main peak of the Kunlun mountain range. It towered into the clouds, piercing the sky. Spiritual mist surrounded it, blocking people's vision and preventing them from seeing how tall it was. The mountain peak was majestic and magnificent, at least 1,000 times taller than any mountain that Xiao Chen had seen before. Furthermore, there was a strange charm to it. Xiao Chen carefully observed the many surrounding peaks. He felt that the main peak of the Kunlun mountain range, which stood out among the many peaks, was different in many ways. Unfortunately, Xiao Chen did not know geomancy, so he could not make out much. At this moment, the Bushan Palace's blue-robed emperor, who had not shown himself for a long time, came out as well. When he saw that majestic Kunlun mountain, a look of awe appeared in his eyes. The speed of the emperor-grade warship was very fast. The originally distant main peak of the Kunlun mountain range became clearly visible at the limits of Xiao Chen's vision. The feeling of that vast and majestic aura was even more direct. No matter who looked at this peak, they would feel extremely insignificant. Just at this moment, auras that made everyone tremble from the bottom of their hearts swept over from every corner of the mountain peak. Including Xiao Chen, the 10 Tianwu domain demonic geniuses all knelt on one knee. Sweat poured down their foreheads, and their expressions were extremely depressed. The Grandmaster-level martial sages of the various sects also felt extremely uncomfortable. They spread out their auras and did their best to resist. However, the auras left as quickly as they came. When they saw that it was the Bushan Palace's warship, they immediately withdrew. You're tuning into the Tashin Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.